Good morning. Good morning, folks. Welcome to the Paulding County Board of Commissioners July 25th, 2016 work session. I'll call the meeting to order and recognize our invited guests and elected officials. Do we have an elected official in the room today? Teresa Fillion, Mayor of Hiram. Teresa Lyons, School Board. Kathy Carter, City of Hiram City Council. Got a room full. Thank you all for being here. I'll remind you to silence your devices as it does interrupt. Mark, you bring forth signage.
No.
Just so we're clear, there's a lot of people that asked to speak today. When we get to that portion and I call your name, you do not have to sign up to be eligible to speak at the public hearing. So you can just say you want to speak and you'll be able to get up and speak. So if it is in reference to that when I call your name, then please let us know that you want to speak at a public hearing. Yes, there's two public hearings today. It's now, and there'll be one at 1 o'clock today.
Yeah, we did have a public hearing as item number 2, which was on the Red X Medical LLC medical waste facility. Because of advertising issues, we're not going to hold that public hearing today. It will have to be re-advertised and held on a different Board of Commissioners day, so that everybody's aware.
And the way that public hearing happens is there won't be a vote taken after a public hearing like that. This is state required and state approves it. So what we will hear today is a presentation from this company. So if you're here about medical waste, then they are going to make their presentation today and let us know what the business is all about. Then the public hearing will be held. We'll make that announcement.
It'll have to be the next meeting when it's able to be advertised. Probably at one at the end of the month. Okay. Can't take questions right now. This morning for our invocation and pledge, we have Colonel Dave Carmichael. Will you stand with me if you're able?
Let's pray together. Let's pray together. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed, holy be your name. Thy kingdom come, and your will be done on earth. Holy Father, your ways are higher than our ways, your thoughts are higher than our thoughts. And we would seek your thoughts. We would seek your ways and your truth. Thank you for these leaders, these commissioners. Just pray for our unity. We thank you for the citizens. We thank you for their involvement and their hearts, their interest. We thank you for our first responders in the room, the protection that they provide us, Lord. But ultimately, you're our protector and you're our guide in our salvation. So we pray in the name of the one who saved us, in Jesus Christ's name. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Minutes, the July 12, 26 work session minutes and the July 12, 2016 board meeting minutes are available for your review. Now the Board of Commissioners would like to recognize 911 Communications Officer Bethany Anderson. As I call your name, would you come forward? Natalie Rover, Roseanne Naris, Kimberly Medina, Marley McClure, Cindy Coleman, and Amber Aiken for their outstanding teamwork during an active shooter incident on July the 5th, 2016. And we would like to present the Public Safety Award to 911 Communications Officer Cindy Coleman for her professionalism, outstanding performance while speaking with a wounded caller during this incident. Kathy, I want to hand this to you. Around and they've got a few more words to say about you.
Bethany wasn't able to make it today. She worked last night, so we have everyone here but Bethany. I'm really honored to be able to recognize the team that we have standing before you today. Back on July 5th, we had an active shooter situation, and these were the folks working for who I think may have been called in to assist. And along with the recognition of the team, we decided to present the Public Safety Appreciation Award to Cindy. And Cindy was the communications officer who was on the phone with the victim, one of the victims, for over an hour during the standoff. So, on July 5th at about 4:50 p.m., Cindy took a 911 call from a female who stated that her neighbor was on his porch shooting at her sister. And she went on to tell her that the suspect had already shot her husband, who was in the backyard, and the caller had also been wounded. And at some point had drugged her sister back into the house to get her out of the line of fire. After we received the initial telephone call, of course, we started getting numerous other reports from the neighbors telling us about what was going on. And at that point, everybody was either fielding telephone calls or they were on the radio talking to responders, trying to get help in from GSP and from other resources that we had available to us. Of course, they did what we do best, and that was they came together as a team, and they helped pull the situation together. A very traumatic and stressful call. As soon as law enforcement officers who were dispatched in under a minute arrived on the scene, shortly afterward they came under fire. And of course, we could hear that across the radio, as well as Cindy could hear the caller. You could hear the gunshots in the background while you had a hysterical caller talking to her. Normally, we handle 911 calls in probably less than 5 minutes. Well, usually less than that, but normally 5 minutes is a long time for us to be on the telephone with the caller. Cindy was on the telephone with this with the victim in this call for over an hour. And during that time, she remained very compassionate, and she remained very professional, and continued to get information from the victim that aided the responders who were en route, and also it served the purpose of keeping the victim on the telephone so we could maintain the status of her and her sister, both of whom were wounded in this other house. She provided emergency medical dispatch instructions for the less serious wounded, the caller, to try and control the bleeding on her sister. And if you can imagine all this going on while there were shots being fired in the background. And it was a very chaotic scene, and Cindy did a really good job of handling this with the victim and a suspect just next door. There were some times when that 911 call became very personal, and she did a good job. She maintained her professionalism, and she remained calm, and as a result, she was able to calm the hysterical caller down and then help keep the caller and her sister from any further harm. And so that's one of our goals, is to protect the public, and in this instance we actually did. It was a really good team effort that none of them could have done it by themselves. And then once again they processed an immense amount of information. It was being reported to us by the caller and the first responders on the scene. They were able to get that information back out to where it belonged and make sure that the appropriate resources were sent. And without a doubt, this assisted the victims and the responders when they are working through a very traumatic and rapidly changing incident. I believe that Colonel Hunton had something he wanted to add from the Sheriff's Department's perspective.
Good morning.
Good morning.
On behalf of the sheriff, we really wanted to thank y'all.
I know at times we get on y'all's nerves, and we ask redundant questions. But with y'all's hard work that day, and I was on the scene down there shortly after it happened, it was very stressful for everybody. But y'all remained calm and communicated with us the information that y'all gave us on the location where the victims were at and all. Once we had resources in place, we were able to evacuate them, and we couldn't have done it without y'all's help and without the information that you were able to provide us. One of my biggest concerns was us going into the wrong residence and being in a gunfight with the suspect. So based on the information that y'all gave us and everything that y'all did for us that day, from the bottom of my heart and the sheriff's heart, we can't thank you enough. Y'all are a lifeline for us, and I think this is a good recognition. You did an outstanding job, ma'am. All of you did, and we appreciate you.
Folks, I've spent more time there than I ever cared to for various emergency reasons. They opened up the EMS center, and they're absolutely outstanding. Do it day in and day out. So, again, my hat's off to you for what you all do. The Board of Commissioners would now like to recognize Will Lyons. Will, would you come forward? And I believe you have your lovely wife, Teresa, with you. Y'all both come up. The Board of Commissioners would like to congratulate Will Lyons, and Paulding County Information Technology Director, for being selected as the 2016 winner of the prestigious GMIS Outstanding Professional Award. Will was nominated by his peers, the international peers, and the International Award Committee selected him. Will be honored in Atlantic City coming up soon. People want to know what GMIS is. It's Government Management Information Systems. And Will was selected by for this outstanding professional award. He was nominated by all of his peers. The GMIS International is a professional IT association of worldwide government IT leaders dedicated to providing the best practice solution for initiative by providing its members with enhanced professional development training, conferences, awards, networking, while offering leadership through advocacy, research, and shared experiences. GMIS International primary mission is to leverage the collective knowledge of all of its members. In 1971, this IT group of professionals realized the need to foster a sharing of experiences among the government, IT, and services, and it was formed. Today, they have members in 36 states. There's 15 chapters and 6 international affiliates. So this is an international award. Only 32 people, 32 GMIS members have been awarded the stellar recognition in its 45-year history. So would you help me welcome Will Lyons, our international. Will, you're never without words. Would you like to talk about this? Wow.
board meeting today has me thrown off a little bit, so I hope they don't reconsider that board. I'm very disorganized today, but I appreciate you taking a minute to recognize me and everybody showing up for this recognition. I can't explain what an honor it is.
He's so humble.
To be selected for this award. When I think about the membership across the globe, the people that I've met, the projects that they've committed, or they've put together, the solutions that they've delivered to their communities, it's quite impressive to be considered among that group, even honored as an individual. I really enjoy what I do. You know, it has its frustrating days, just like any profession does, but very passionate. And it's not for the recognitions, but it's just for the enjoyment of working with technology and making a difference in the community. The recognition from my peers supports my efforts and confirms the decisions that I've made here in Baldwin County. But those decisions could not have been made without the support of the board, the departments, and their staff. So this award is really for all of us and not just me. So I'll give everybody who gave me a chance to leave. And seeing none, I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Chair.
He did let me know that he wouldn't leave this hanging in his office, so well deserved. Thank you. We just have so many. We just have so many outstanding people that you know, it would be nice to take all day long to recognize all the great people that we have on staff here. Speaking about other great people and great awards and recognition, Ashley Henson had sent me an article in the New York Times. Usually when we make the paper, it's not good. But we're in the New York Times, and I asked Ashley if he'd come and just tell us a little bit about this article.
Sure. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Ms. Skipper. Chairman Austin called me this morning and asked me to come and address you guys and kind of tell you what was going on with this article. So last week, about Wednesday, I got a call from a reporter friend from the New York Times. And they have reporters in all the major cities throughout the nation. And he called me and said they were doing a story and they wanted to do a ride-along. So obviously I had to get with the sheriff and the command staff and make sure they were okay with it. And one of the main concerns that we all had was it's the New York Times, and we weren't sure what their angle was going to be because every reporter's got an angle. And so I had worked on an article before with this particular reporter, and he done an excellent job. And so put him with a couple of our deputies last Thursday night. Deputy Matt Stachwitz and Deputy Heather White. And they rode around on a shift and did a lot of things. They actually did this across the nation. I think there was about 10 reporters from Seattle to Milwaukee to Los Angeles County, Houston, Texas, New York Police. They rode with all these different agencies. And I think you guys should have a copy of the article in front of you. If you look on the front page of the New York Times from yesterday, you see Deputy Matt Stachwitz and you see Dwayne Hewitt, who's a pastor in Hiram. And you see him actually praying over Deputy Stachwitz. It's a pretty powerful photo. You know, they say a picture can tell 1,000 words, and I think this one does that, especially in the climate that law enforcement's in right now. We were really reluctant to do this, but if you look at the article when you get an opportunity, it's a little lengthy, but it's a very good article. It basically puts people in our shoes for a day and lets them know what we go through, what we face. And if you look on my shirt here on my badge, you see a little black band. A lot of people don't know what that means. It's a mourning band, and to be honest with you, we're really tired of wearing them. From Dallas to Baton Rouge to all the other instances taking place, we're getting tired of wearing them. So we appreciate this article. We appreciate you guys supporting us, and really and truly our community has come together. If you follow our social media pages, you've seen the outpouring of support that we've had. It's amazing. If we don't all roll out of there gaining some weight, it's going to be a miracle because our community has just wrapped their arms around us and really supported us with food and cards and just an overwhelming amount of love and support. So we appreciate that. Read this article. For those of you in the audience that have not seen it, it's on our social media pages. Look at it, read it, and if you get a chance, shoot the sheriff a message, or if you see Deputy Stachwitz out, let him know that you thought it was a good article. But appreciate you giving us this opportunity this morning.
That's excellent.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. One more time, Blue Lives Matter, so thank you. We have invited guests today. We have Bert Brantley, Director of the Georgia Department of Driver Services, for an update on the Paulding location. If you haven't been there and visited yet, the Driver Services is directly behind the courthouse on this campus. Bert's held many jobs within the state. We've been friends a long, long time, and when he showed up at DDS, it's like, well, another great person there. So, Bert, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioners. Thanks, everybody, for being here. People speak at these things a lot, and they say, well, I wouldn't be here today if not for so-and-so. I want to quickly say thanks. He left. Dave Carmichael flew me around when I worked for Governor Perdue for many years as the head of the aviation department, and without his safe flying, I really wouldn't be here. So on this day, oh, there, hey, but thank you so much for the invitation to be here. Really excited about our new facility here. It's really, I said this at the ribbon cutting, it really is a great example of a county and state coming together to serve the citizens. Citizens, most of them, don't care whether it's a county service or a state service. They just want it to be fast and efficient. They want it to make sense. And many times we're able to break down that barrier and come together and offer a great service for citizens. That's definitely what we did here. We would not be here without your support, and particularly of the land right here next to your great facility here. So that's a convenience for your citizens. They are now able to stay right here in Paulding County and get their license renewed. They don't have to go to Marietta or Cedartown or Carrollton or wherever they were going before. We're seeing about 350 customers a day now, which is a lot for a new center. Of course, this is a growing area, and that doesn't surprise us, but we're really pleased with that. We've seen about 100 less per day in Marietta, and then less at some of our other centers, which means they're not crowding those centers, and those people there are able to get more effective service as well. So it really is a great win-win for everybody. It wasn't the New York Times, but I will point you to a story in yesterday's AJC that highlighted the center, and particularly our manager, who could not be here today, but I did want to recognize her, Amanda Scott. She is a Paulding resident and native. She is now able to stay right here in town and work, as many of our staff members are. She's able to serve the people she grew up with and the people that she lives with. She lives 3 miles from our center. And that's great, so I commend that story to you in yesterday's paper. Really, we want to get the word out about the center, let people know that it's here. We're sending out postcards to people who have renewals and reminding them about the new center, giving them the address, and telling them they can come here rather than visit one of our other crowded centers as well. So we just could not be more excited. It really is a great staff. It's a great partnership with you guys. Your county residents can come here and get their tag renewed, and then go right over and get their license renewed. We're seeing that trend across the state, partnering with counties to locate either in the same building or at least nearby, so people can get efficiently their services taken care of. It's just really, it couldn't be better. I mean, I wish I had something to complain about, but I don't. It's really great. The people have been super nice, which is great too. That's not always the case, but they have been very friendly to our staff. It is literally a 2 or 3 minute wait time right now over there, so I commend that center to anybody who needs a license renewed or really any service. Please tell your friends and your family that we have a great new center here. You can get served in a hurry. That won't always be the case, I promise. As fast as this area is growing, there will be packed at some point. Just want to really just thank you for your support. Again, we could not do it without you guys. And many of you showed up for our opening day. Mayor Dallas was the first one we issued a renewal. Commissioners and chairman was there and on a ribbon cutting as well. So thank you so much for supporting us and being there. I also cannot get out of here without giving a very special thank you to the legislative delegation that supported the center with money. Of course, what we needed, but specifically Howard Maxwell was really the push behind this, and working with the county staff on figuring out a plan, getting that together. But also Senator Heath and Senator Dugan and Representative Rakestraw and all the folks out here that really pulled together and worked together. You guys have a great delegation, very respected at the Capitol. Anyway, so I'm not going to take all day. I know you guys are here for other stuff. Glad to answer any questions you guys have about the center or about any services that are there. We have a lot of online services, so you can actually skip coming into the center. I would definitely recommend you check that out first. But if you do have to come in, you've got really what is the best center in the state right now. The brand new center, state of the art, all the technologies there. It really is the best spot in the state. We actually had somebody come in from Buckhead. They passed about 4 centers to get out here, but they heard how nice and new it was and heard how efficient it was, and they came out And I met them the other day at the ribbon cutting. So anyway, thanks a lot. Thanks for your support. Thanks for your invitation to be here. Glad to answer any questions if you have any.
You mentioned this is state of the art. This is the model that all future driver services will be built by.
It absolutely is. So the benefit to us is that we were able to build that facility and then essentially take this architecture and this technology and take it to every other center that we're going to build. Really in the metro area, this is probably too big of a center for some of our rural areas, but we can scale it down and build the exact same center with the exact same technology as we go around the state. So it's really a benefit to the state as a whole. I should say as well, I mentioned the Buckhead, there are folks coming from outside the county in. Hopefully they're stopping to get something to eat and buy gas as well. But it really is that great of a center that people are coming in even from other counties and also serving their citizens as well. But it couldn't be better. Really excited about it and really proud of the team effort that your county and our agency showed to put it together.
Any questions for Bert? Bert, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Another invited guest today is Terry Tibbetts, Interim Airport Director, to give an update on Silver Comet Field at the Baldwin Northwest Atlanta Airport.
Thank you. Take one and pass it down. Thank you, gentlemen. As you know, the Paulding County Airport Authority has an intergovernmental agreement with the Paulding County government, and that requires us once a year at this time of year to come and give you a presentation on the status, primarily financial status of the airport. So that's my purpose for being here today. The question everybody asks is what's going on with Part 139, so I'm going to address that first. The Part 139 certification process has been on hold due to litigation for the past more than 12 months, but I'm only addressing the past 12 months. And the only funds that have been expended by the Paulding County Airport are in connection with the environmental assessment that is required as part of the court-mandated settlement for one of the lawsuits that we are currently dealing with. And normally an environmental assessment is something that takes a few months and a few tens of thousands of dollars to complete. Because of the scrutiny and the visibility that this environmental assessment has been given, we have currently spent to date $284,141 on the environmental assessment. That was for Phase 1. Many of y'all were at the public hearing that was held back in November at the large hangar out of the airport. And you know that we had an unusually large amount of public comments. So we are currently working through those with Michael Baker, who is our consultant on this project. And the Phase 2 activities are $178,423. And we anticipate that, like the first phase, this phase will be approved as an FAA Georgia Department of Transportation grant. So these funds are primarily provided by the flying public, so it's not coming out of our tax revenue other than the 5% matching that we're responsible for. And it's been determined because we're adjacent to a wildlife management area that we're also going to have to do what's called a 4F assessment. And this, we just received our bid from our consultant on this, and that price is $21,554, and we will be submitting that to the Georgia DOT and the FAA for grant approval as well. So in total, we anticipate that our share, the Paulding County share of all of this activity is going to be around $25,000, and we've got the money in the budget to cover that. The second thing that people ask about is our legal activities. I'm becoming very good friends with many of the lawyers across the area, and we are currently involved in half a dozen legal actions pertaining to the 139 certification action. And last year we spent $82,227 in legal expenses. We have budgeted $60,000 for legal services this year. Quite frankly, that's a guess. We have no way to anticipate what turns the legal action is going to take in the coming year. Personally, I think we've underestimated that based on what we saw last year and what we've seen for the first month of this FY, but we'll deal with that going forward. All of the other expenditures, receipts, income, and so forth are contained in our financial statements that we publish every month at our Paulding County Airport Authority meetings. I have given you a copy of the ending statement for FY16. So that shows our entire budget, all expenditures, and how we compared to budget. You will see in that statement that we had a net income of just over $100,000 for the year. Those numbers always get skewed because of the way the grant process works. The airport is not a profit center. We're good if we're break even in the situation that we're in right now. So we're going to have additional expenses this year that are going to be covered by grants that were approved last year, primarily the environmental assessment. So that, as I said, that will skew the numbers a little bit. The last 2 pages of your handout is our budget, operating budget for the year that we have just begun. Again, we will be going over in much more detail in our meeting, next regular meeting, which we will have this Wednesday. And I will be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have or go into as much detail as you like, but I know your time limited. So let me turn it back to you for questions.
Any questions for Mr. Tibbs? Good. You've done an outstanding job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Your dad's proud of you. He's here in our audience, so always glad to have him. Bid awards, discuss action to approve the construction contract for the Stonewood Creek outfall sewer plant to the lowest responsible bidder, Strack Incorporated, in the amount of $284,735. Tap.
Good morning. On June the 9th, the Finance Department received bids for Stonewood Creek outfall sewer. This project is described as installation of sanitary sewer outfall approximately 2,300 linear feet long along an unnamed tributary adjacent to Paulding County property. This outfall line will extend from Russian Creek Way in an easterly direction along an unnamed tributary to Westbrook Creek and terminating at the easterly boundary of said county property. We had 7 participants in this bidding process. Bids ranged up to $548,896. Engineering Strategies, Inc. is the engineer on the project, and they have reviewed this bid, and they, as well as county personnel, are recommending award to the low bid in the amount of $284,735.
Any questions of TAP?
Daryl and Lori are available for specific project questions.
Thank you, Tabitha. Number 2, discuss action to approve the construction of the Richland Creek Dam and Reservoir for the lowest responsible bidder, Bradco Construction, in the amount of $42,708,932.67. We have Tabitha here and Kelly Comstock.
I'm going to barely touch this one to tell you that there were 4 bidders. Bids ranged from $42.7 million to $51.496 million. And engineers have recommended award to the low bid as well in the amount of $42,708,932.67. And Kelly will tell you a little bit more about the budget and the project.
Thanks, Tabitha. Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Sorry, let me get in here. I had a couple of slides to give you an update. This bid item is for the construction of the Richland Creek Dam and Reservoir. Sorry, I don't know why it's not completely showing up there, but the county underwent a pre-qualification process for this, if you recall. We pre-qualified 6 bidders that were found to have the experience necessary to be able to do such a structure. and we identified 10 different specialty subcontractors in the grout curtain area and 10 in the slurry wall specialty injection area. And it was competitively bid through an RFP process. We issued the RFP on April 21st, and we opened the bids on June 24th, so there was about a 2-month bidding period. 4 bids were received, and these are the companies that submitted the bids, and as Tabitha mentioned, they ranged from about $42.7 million all the way up to $51.4 million. We reviewed all of the bids, and all of the bidders were determined to be responsive, and Brad Cole Construction was the lowest bid. Now, obviously, there was a significant difference between Brad Cole and the next highest bidder of almost $5 million. So we did a careful review to determine why their bids were substantially lower. And we found there were 2 primary areas where their bid was lower. The first one was in mobilization. If you recall, they are the contractor that's actually out there doing the Highway 61 improvements. They were also selected by PC Construction to do the grading work on the water treatment plant. So they have already mobilized all of their equipment to the site for those projects, so the county received the savings associated with that. The other good thing is having a single contractor that's doing all of the earth work. There's not a chance of any finger pointing between the various contractors, so it'll make it a lot easier to administrate all of the site work associated with the project. The other thing is that they had a very innovative approach to excavation. Their excavation number was substantially lower than the competition as well. And you can see on that picture there in the bottom, they're using agricultural tractors that are retrofitted with tank tracks, and they're pulling basically scrapers, pan scrapers. And they're doing this instead of using other types of construction techniques for pulling the soil out, because they can do it much faster with this configuration. They can also go through partially weathered rock because these tractors have much more power than the conventional scrapers. So this is a very innovative approach. They're one of the only contractors in the state using this methodology. They've used it on several different projects, and when you see this equipment out there moving, it's quite impressive. So once again, they were able to pass that savings along to the county along with their bid. So as a result, the bids came in below budget, which is good. And this is one of the final items that will come to the commission of this size. With this going under contract, we will now be over 80% under contract for construction. The only other major component that's got to be awarded for major construction is the finished water pipeline. That is under design right now, and that will be bid first quarter of 2017. We did keep about $3 million in the reservoir budget. That's associated with a access road that will be necessary, as well as a boat ramp that still has to be designed, and then that will be awarded at a later date. So those projects will come in front of you at a future date as well. I know you can't see this, the general public. Anyone who wants a copy of this, I can give it to you. I don't know why it's doing this, but the lower numbers with the reservoir allowed us to shift money to the contingency. So we've got about $5 million in program contingency, which is greater than 10% of what still has to be awarded in case any unforeseen issues come up. So we're still on track to meet the $215 million overall program budget. With that, answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Kelly?
Did pretty good, Kelly, because you answered one of my questions in the first couple of minutes. The difference in the bids, which is pretty neat. And then so my usual question at every meeting with the reservoir. We're on track.
Yes, sir.
We're under budget.
Yes, sir.
At this point. Everything's right where we told the public it would be. We're in good shape.
Yes, sir.
And no surprises.
No surprises. We're anticipating doing a groundbreaking in the latter part of September. And so that'll be a public event. So it'll be firsthand where people can get out to the site and actually see some of the incredible work that's going on.
I appreciate your work. I appreciate, Lori, your department's work and keeping everything out in the public eye in these meetings on the website. And it's a way to do business. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have reports from committees and departments. Ann Lippman has been working on a Paulding County Comprehensive Plan. This is required by the state of Georgia for every county to do. It's done every 10 years. And then you've had a lot of success so far in this area.
Yes, we have. Good morning, commissioners and everyone here today. I just wanted to give you a little update about the comp plan and make you aware of some public meetings that we have coming up. So just to remind you where we started about a year ago. The county, representatives with Dallas, Hiram, Paulding Economic Development, the school district, the Chamber of Commerce, Northwest Georgia Regional Commission. We've been meeting monthly to go over what we needed to do to get this plan underway. And if you recall, we had a public hearing to officially kick it off in October of 2015. And we've been looking at the DCA requirements for the plan update, developing a mission and objectives, inventorying and prioritizing community assets, and we identified a stakeholder group. That stakeholder group, let me back up, this is the DCA menu of plan elements. This is what we will be required to do. We will be required to have community goals, needs and opportunities, and a community work program. Some counties have different requirements. Paulding County, because we have zoning, we're required to do a land use study. Because we are in the Metro Atlanta transportation area, we are required to do a transportation plan, which, thank you, Scott, we completed and have already done. And some of these optional elements are going to be included in our land use study. I mentioned the stakeholder meeting. They had their first meeting at March 15th at the Dallas Civic Center, and they looked at some of the work that what the group of cities and counties and groups, we call ourselves the multi-jurisdictional work group. So they reviewed some of the work we've done and made sure we were staying on track. Where we are now, if you remember in March, we're not required to do an economic development study, but we felt that bringing economic development to Paulding County was something worth studying more. So we are working with SPGE on doing an economic development study. I know they interviewed all the commissioners and they did surveys to a lot of the business owners in Paulding County. And we are also working with the Georgia Conservancy and Georgia Tech to do a land use study. And that is one of the first things that will be one of the opportunities to hear what they're doing. Catherine Moore, who is the Sustainable Growth Program Manager for Georgia Conservancy, will be the keynote speaker at next Thursday's Georgia Power Lunch. And we also have interactive citizen workshops scheduled. That will be August 11th at the Dallas Civic Center, August 18th at the Hiram Community Center, September 8th at the Georgia Library, and September 15th at the Crossroads Library. And what is going to happen at these? I'm going to borrow a line from the Broadway hit musical Hamilton, and Chris Robinson, the planning and zoning manager, and I are going to smile more and talk less. These are going to be interactive. We want citizens to tell us what they like about the county. We're going to have, if several of you have taken the Pondering Paulding quiz, we're going to have a short quiz that's got fun facts about the county, and people who take the quiz will be eligible to draw for a prize. We also want to know what the citizens think the greatest needs and opportunities are and what goals for the community they can support. So those will be coming up in August and September. And we are also working with the library to have an art contest. This is going to start August 15th, going through the 26th. It's for kindergarten through 5th graders. We're asking the children to, through any art medium, answer one of the 3 questions. What do you want to be when you grow up? How will you get to school and work in the future? And what is your most favorite place in Paulding County, close to home? And the winner of the art contest will be announced at the September 15th meeting at Crossroads Library. And where are we headed? After all the public meetings, the land use and economic development studies are wrapping up. A lot of that information is going to be at the public meetings. We will be working on the draft, have it ready by December. The final public hearing will be in January. We hope to have the plan submitted by March and have it approved by June 2017, as it is due by June 30th, 2017. And that is pretty much the end of my presentation. I hope to see everybody here at one of the community meetings, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Ann?
And are those meetings published somewhere so the public can see them?
We put links on our website, and we're going to work with Channel 23 to make sure they get on the news and also social media.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're at a part of our program with public participation on agenda items. We have the first, Conley Stennett Senior, 609 Pool Road. New business item number 2, medical waste. If you would, address all your comments to the chair.
Yes. On the medical waste, I don't know how it's going to be contained. Is it going to be an indoor or an outdoor facility?
Well, we're going to hear a presentation on this momentarily. So it's down in another part of the program. And again, you'll have a chance to come back during public hearing on this and make comment. But I did meet with Jeff Watt and John Lewis. The building is contained. It is new innovation where it stays within the building. Then once it's incinerated, it is shredded, and then it leaves that premises.
No matter where you live in Georgia, Montlick & Associates is here.
That was early on, sort of a brief amount of information that I received from him.
That is going to be a Santa pack, right?
Excuse me?
That will be a Santa pack that will be cooking the material, medical waste.
I don't understand that Santa pack, but we'll ask
Well,
that question.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Teresa Filial, 41 Sunnyland, Hiram Medical Waste Facility, new business item number 2.
Good morning, Lonnie and Commissioners. How are y'all this morning? I'm Teresa Filial. I serve as mayor for the city of Hiram. And I'm here this morning to represent my citizens in Hiram. They have grave concerns about the medical waste facility. I do as well. I really do not understand why it was chosen to be put into such a busy section of Paulding County. As again, and I know you hear this a lot, but we're very proud of it. We're an extreme economic engine for Paulding County. And to think that this will be right in the midst, right behind where our people, you know, they shop, they eat, they entertain. It's really disappointing to know because the perception of medical waste, it's going to be a black eye on Hiram. There'll be some people that might understand this new facility, but there'll be many that will not. I really, like I said, can anyone tell me why this particular location, as big as Paulding County is, and as much area as we have, is not so congested? Why was this location chosen?
I think you'll hear that
from them
presentation.
Okay, all right. Why are we having a public hearing if there really will not be a vote on this by the commissioners?
Because the state law for this kind of facility requires that a public hearing be held by the Board of Commissioners, but this body does not vote on the agenda item. It's not something that this body approves or disapproves. They hold a public hearing, but they do not take action.
And the public hearing is for who? The EPD, did I understand, or the EPA? Or?
The community has to hold a public hearing, but the actual permit is issued by the state.
Okay. And is there any way at that time we could speak with the state?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, well, thank you. I guess my next thing is just that we ask you to consider the impact that bringing a facility such as this to such a congested area as Hiram, where most days we have 30 to 40,000 cars come through our area. And, you know, the amount of people that are down there at all times is just unbelievable. And again, we don't understand. We know that any time you have something such as medical waste and everything, it's a danger to it. I'm probably far-reaching when I say the world that it seems like we're living in now. maybe silly on my part, but with all this going on now, it could very well be a target for someone that wanted to do harm. But mostly you've got people that this is our home, and we don't, you know, it just does not look good to say that we have a medical waste facility right in our midst. I understand that there are others around the state, but I do wonder, are they in the same congested area as this one is going to be in Hiram? It just seems like there's other places it could go, and I don't really know how it came about, that was the location that was chosen. But I just do not feel in any way that it is going to be beneficial to Hiram. That's a big industrial park. I'm not even sure the next person that is interested in coming there and buying land to open a business of some kind would be located that close to something that can be this dangerous. And there's always the transporting of the medical waste to and from. So many things, and there's other people that want to speak too, but those are just some of the things that I want to make sure that you understand. The city of Hiram is not happy about this. We do not want it right in the middle of our busiest section of Hiram. We do not want it close to our homes. This is our home, and we love our home, and we just feel like it could have been, you know, a better decision could have been made. I thank you for listening to me, and may God bless us all.
Mayor, let me ask you a question. Is this in the city limits?
It is just outside, but it is so close, David. It is in the county, I understand. But I mean, you have Dallas Mill Works. It's in the city limits. I mean, it's just right there. You can't, I understand what you're saying, but it is so close to Hiram. It is so close to commercialization and all the people. It's right there in our door. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa.
Matt Mason, 831 Crestworth Crossing.
Yes, sir.
New business item number 2, medical waste.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me
morning.
and allowing me to speak today. Some of my concerns are the pollution that comes with a facility like this. Let me get my notes pulled up. I've been researching this for a couple of weeks since the sign was posted, and that's another point that I wanted to bring up. When the sign was initially put out over there, it was actually behind a concrete barrier. Somebody had to go and move it, and I believe it was Scotty that actually went and moved it back in front so it could be visible. There are pollutants that come with the type of facility that's going to be burning medical waste, and do we know exactly what the medical waste is going to be? Is it going to be chemotherapy type stuff, or is it going to be, you know, regular doctor's office supplies? That's one of my biggest concerns. In doing some of the research on different types of medical waste facilities, toxins and furans was one of the main pollution elements from there. According to Blue Ridge Environmental Defense League, toxins have been called the most dangerous chemical known to man. It's not one single compound, it's a variety of different compounds that are formed together when they have been incinerated. How do they plan on keeping those out of the environment? I know for a fact there's at least 3 residents that are within, I know one's within 400 feet, one's within 1,000 feet, and then all the environmental, or all the shops, restaurants, everything. I, for one, don't want to be sitting on a patio in Hiram eating dinner with my family and having these pollutants in the air less than 1,000 feet away. That's one of my biggest concerns. I understand that this county needs economic growth, but I don't think this is the way to go about it. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. I'm going to slaughter this name, Tammy Postclaw.
You didn't slaughter it.
1386 Rosedale Drive, Hiram. New business item number 3. Sorry, new business item number 2. Medical waste.
And you pronounced it correctly, thank you. Thank y'all for being here. I especially want to thank my friends and neighbors that come out to support me
and the questioning of this new facility that's coming in. My question is, supposedly this is a new way of incinerating or disposing, or what have you. I wanted to know how much has been tested and how accurate it is on whether the toxics are going to get out or how it's going to affect the environment. That's one of the questions. Now I realize that's going to come up when they give their, whatever they're going to be doing here, but their presentation today. But my other concern is that, the elementary school is not very far from there. And like the mayor said, we're right there. I'm confused on why it's chosen right there in the heart of Hiram. I know it may not be in the city limits, but it's a stone's throw from the city limits. And I'm not real sure why it's not considered the city limits there. But you have so many businesses that are right there. I work for Longhorn. I frequent all the restaurants that are out in that area. And I agree with Matt Mason. Who wants to be sitting there and have some kind of pollutant smell while you're trying to enjoy your dinner with your friends and family? I just wanted to come here and speak my heart on this because my driveway will actually be right next door. I find it to be odd that the bank owned this property. During all the foreclosures and everything, the bank still owned this property. And all of a sudden you saw for sale signs where the McNeil Builders was owning it. And I know that Metromont was trying to purchase this land so that they could, they're booming right now, that they could do truck parking there for hauling off for the Metromont business. And McNeil Builders all of a sudden got it, and then the next thing you know, we've got rednecks coming in. They haven't even started developing any kind of things down there. It just makes me question how quickly all that went about. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. The attorneys pointed out, Roger Leggett, you're next at 575 Seven Alexander Road. If you're going to talk on the budget, that is a...
We'll have a public hearing on the budget.
Yeah, I'll just wait till 2 o'clock.
No, we're having one this morning.
It'll be here short.
Yeah, it's item 2 or 3.
Okay.
Trinity Co., 247 Powder Springs Street, PO Box 17, Hiram, Georgia. New business item number 2.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And I do thank y'all for hearing us and pay me enough to do what y'all have to do. So, because
Are you saying we need a raise?
we're not being opposed to that. And for the police officers as well. So, but anyway, I do thank you, and you carry a lot of responsibility, and I know that you know the decision that you make have a lasting effect, far-reaching repercussions. And thank y'all for standing on our behalf. I do have a question. Is there anything we can do about this? I mean, we're all presenting our cases, and y'all are hearing our concerns, which is great. It's nice to be heard. But is there really anything we can do about this? Because I'd like to start working on that.
We're going to hear their presentation, and then, again, this is not somebody I invited in. They came to us to do some explanation early on. That's all I've heard. But they chose Paulding County, and so again, we're hearing this as we go.
And I agree that Paulding County needs business, we need revenue, we need tax, but we need that. As residents, we need that to have more industry coming in. But the detriment is far greater than the benefit to this. And the City of Hiram officials have worked so hard and invested so much to make our city a welcoming environment for businesses and homes. So hopefully businesses will start coming in. But if I were a business and I saw there was a waste treatment plant down there, medical waste treatment, I would not want to put my business down there. And if I was going to invest in a subdivision or even bring my family in, I live less than a half mile from where this facility is going to be. I've lived there since 1973. I've lived in the city of Hiram for 66 years, and I love it. I've never wanted to leave it, but this makes me want to leave. You know, I have a daughter with lupus, and I mean, I don't want to be anywhere near this, and I know she doesn't. Even the most well-maintained hospital facilities, people are terrified to have an operation, no matter how well-maintained they are and what precautions they take, because you know you can get an infection there. And if all this waste from everything they're doing in those hospitals is brought into next door to our city and processed there, unless it's processed in a vacuum, housed in a vacuum, something's going to be contaminated. Contaminants are going to get out. Germs are germs. Bacteria is bacteria. We're all going to be subjected to this. Some way or another, this is going to come in contact with the atmosphere and our homes and our city and our county. And I agree that this is a necessary thing. But it's not necessary to have it next door to the city of Hiram. I mean, less than a half mile. You have a school that's less than a mile. I mean, I don't see why. Surely there's something we can do to help these people find another place. That's a great concern. And I don't know about noise. You know, I'm all about Metromont. And in fact, this came up some years ago where Metromont's located now. A medical waste facility wanted to be housed. You know, they propositioned to be there. And Mayor Penley fought it and got Metromont in. So, which, thank goodness. So this has come up before. So, and I did see the sign too, and it said the meeting was at 2 o'clock. And it had been moved so that it could be seen where it had been hidden. I don't think there's much else. You know, I know my property value is going to be affected by this, but I'm planning to be there for the long haul, so it's only worth what it's worth to me, and that's the place to live. But for future generations that will inherit this, and if this does come in and I opt out, it's just going to be so detrimental. And if I was moving into a new location, I would look at what's around me. And I would say, do I want to move to Hiram? Well, no, right there at the city limits is a medical waste treatment plant. No, I wouldn't want to come in there. And also with respect to the people who are going to have businesses down there. It doesn't seem quite fair to them. But thank you for hearing me. And God bless y'all for what you're going to do. And I just pray that the right decision will be made and God's perfect will be done.
Lonnie, could you clarify? I think the question that the lady had, and it's at least the question I have, is citizens who are concerned about this. This isn't something that any of us will decide. So I know the law requires we have a hearing, but what needs to be done if a citizen has concerns or is supportive of either way? What should they do? Who should they direct?
Explain a couple things. One is that this does not constitute a public hearing, so that you understand that.
Right.
Because we have to re-advertise that and repost it because what was on the sign didn't reflect the correct meeting date and time. So we will end up having this on a whole nother agenda at a later time, not today.
Right.
So we're taking these comments and now hopefully they're going to incorporate this into their presentation, but we do have to have a public hearing that is not today. Okay? Part 2, this site is already zoned heavy industrial or I-2. So what they're asking to do meets that zoning category, which is why y'all don't have a vote on it at this point, because you don't have to vote on the zoning. They will have to go through a permitting process that involves our local community development office, and I believe a state permit as well. Those things are, will occur, but assuming they meet the codes, meet the ordinances, they can get permits. I don't know the process for submitting comments to the state, but I would assume that you could submit them. And then community development is to make sure they follow all the building regulations, the zoning regulations, land use regulations that we have.
Thanks.
Okay.
We have Carol McLeod. Carol is already signed up to speak on the public participation, so you didn't have to sign up again.
If you want me to wait, I'll be happy to.
Well, if you're talking about the same thing, then...
If you want to talk during the budget hearing process?
Yes, I'm going to be talking about something.
Okay.
It's on the back.
Okay.
Yes.
But she has signed up to speak, she speaks now and on public.
I think she intends to speak when we have the public hearing on the budget, right? Yeah. Anybody that wants to speak then, so that I can also explain this, the rules associated with signing up and all those categories of people that cannot speak for litigation reasons or because they're candidates or any of those things do not apply to public hearings. So when we call for the public hearing to be open on the budget, and then later on today on the millage rate, anyone that's here is eligible to speak. They just come in, they sign in when they actually are at the podium, and they speak.
She is actually, she can speak both times. She will speak at open participation and at the end, so
Yeah.
I'll just wait.
we'll say it to that time. Roy Sparks, 66 Sparks Drive, Suite 3003, Hiram Court. New business item number 2.
Good morning, Commission Chairman and Commissioners.
Morning, Roy.
I'd like to address you this morning. I am a property owner in this area. This will be detrimental to other property values around this area. At my property location, I have 10 businesses located there. I don't think these 10 businesses would like these neighbors to be there. And also, I'd like to point out to you, this location is directly in the middle between where they tried to locate 2 waste transfer stations. One right around the corner, the other one over in the park behind it. The neighbors over there don't want this type of stuff in their neighborhood for a lot of reasons, for the people that live there and people like me that's invested a lot of money in this county to have clean businesses that we don't even have outside storage in light industrial. I do understand that the zoning is there for this, but I think the people at Red X need to know, I think they're pretty much an unwelcome neighbor in the neighborhood. Thank you.
David Elberly, 66 South, 40 Pass, East Hiram.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see the sign for that. I thought that was just a sign
Catherine Milton, 6389 Brownsville Mountain Road, Rockmart, Georgia, 30153, advocacy for budget on 2017. I believe you're set to speak.
Yes, sir, I believe it's stated.
At the end?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
We'll save you to then. We're now into the consent agenda. Declare items listed as surplus and approve their disposal through the donation of Richmond County, Augusta. Superior Court, court recording machine, Sony model BM 246, serial number 527262. Superior Court, court recording machine, Sony model BM 246, serial number 524791. Superior Court recording machine, Sony model BM 246, serial number 524786. Superior Court recording tapes, there's 177 cassette tapes. Would you like to bring this item to regular session? Hearing none, there's no old business, and before we go to new business, I'm going to call for a 5-minute break. So we'll be coming back and starting the public hearing on the budget. We're back. Back in session, and we'll be looking at new business item number 1, public hearing on the fiscal year 2017 budget. I'll open that public hearing, and Tabitha, you've prepared, we have 2 budgets prepared. One budget I had, and then a second budget prepared that has some increases.
Yes, sir. On June 1st, we published the budget, and that's been posted since June 1st. Hopefully everybody got a copy, and I had, it was a 3-page copy, the front page being the first column, general fund, and the revenues for $58,506,300. The total column, so the total budget was $139,110,700. It has a date on the top right corner of June 1st, 2016. Then, at the last Board of Commissioners meeting, you voted to instruct me to advertise, to conduct the advertisements for the millage rate as if we didn't roll it back from entirely to the 6.988. This public hearing is very close to the public hearing that we'll have at 1. One is regarding the millage rate itself, so there'll be more information there. This one is primarily to discuss the budget, so the revenues and expenditures that are included in this budget. In response to that, I did issue the ads. We're holding public hearings, and then you'll make a decision on August 9th as to what to actually set that millage rate for. In response to that, in addition to that, I issued another budget, gathered information from most of you to conduct a list of additional items that you felt like were needed in the budget, in the original budget. So those items have been included. In the back, there's also a memo, there's a 5-page document. There's a memo that includes, lists out specifically what those were. And it also includes a budget sheet that's dated July 15th of 2016. And the general fund portion of that, for the first column, is $59,793,000, and the total budget is $140,397,400. So hopefully everybody got a copy. If you didn't and you would like one, let me know, and I'll try to get that for you. It doesn't look like we have made any additional copies. So with that, unless any of you would like me to add to any of that information, then this public hearing is regarding the budget, and we have another public hearing at 1 o'clock regarding the budget.
So in case you couldn't hear, this is on the budget, and then there'll be a hearing at 1 o'clock on the millage rate. And then again at 6 o'clock on the millage rate. And there'll be a 7 o'clock meeting, but we will not be voting on any of this stuff at the 7 o'clock meeting.
That's correct. We'll have another
Either
public
the
hearing.
millage or the bond. And then there'll be another public hearing on August the
9th at 9:30.
9:30, prior to our meeting.
Work session.
And we'll have that discussion there, that public hearing, and then, then I believe there's an evening meeting on that.
At 2.
Is it
2
2
o'clock.
and 7?
2 o'clock on the 9th.
Okay. So the public hearing is open. You've heard comments, so procedurally, how do we do this? Do they come and sign in, or how?
There should be a sign-up sheet that's actually on the podium. They can sign in right before they speak, and you can individually speak.
So if you'd like to speak on the budget, we now have the public hearing open, and you're welcome to come to the lectern. If you're going to speak on the budget. I will make note that candidates usually cannot come to speak at this forum, but this is a public hearing, so all people, including candidates, are able to come and speak. So if you hear in the future that a candidate wanted to speak and would be denied, they are for the reasons.
Two different processes altogether. Public hearing in this case is allowed for and provided by state law, and it does not have any contingencies on it based upon who can speak.
Thank you, gentlemen. And lady. The reason that I want to speak this morning, I want to thank you for presenting the two different options that we have. I think it's good to be open and above board like you're doing here. I know the increases, some folks have a lot of heartburn with the increase, but these 7 positions that are being shown as options are, I believe, The most critical one is maybe to the sheriff because of the people that he's losing and the problems he's having retaining people because of salaries, and I support him with that. But above all, I want to thank you for the two options that we have, because we haven't done that in the past. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else wishing to speak on the budget? Ms. Katie Collins, you come and sign in.
I'm not coming up here and speaking for or against this budget. I'm simply coming up here to ask all of the commissioners what is the reason for the increase? You know, we're talking about a budget increase, and I guess that Roger's got some inside information that gives him what we're talking about. I don't know what we're talking about. I don't know whether I am for it or against an increase. I don't know what the money is going to be spent on. I think it's only appropriate that somebody explain why we're doing an increase. Somebody else some explanations of why we're doing an increase. I may be for it, I may be against it, I don't know. But I think you owe us that explanation.
Mr. Carter, I think Tabitha she has a memo that described what was being proposed. Is that what you got, Tabitha? She has that information for you.
That is on the government website, correct?
It is. It's on the government website as well as in the back of the room.
Okay.
Thank you, KB. Thank you, KB.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tabitha.
Thank you, Katie. Anyone else wishing to speak? On the budget. Mr. Colette.
Okay. I've got a little presentation I'm going to show real quick to explain why we're doing this, why we're looking at the second budget. If Will, are you in here? Can you help me hook up my laptop so that I can put it on the screen? You want, I brought some cables, or do you want to take it?
He's award winning, so I think he This is a test. Should you take on this task? What's your award? Don't burn up in my 5 seconds.
We tested the award. Is that what it is?
I'll do that. I'm going to take the laptop.
I don't know, it seems like it might be easier.
You can do that if you like.
No, well, you know how that system works.
I did, that's right. Basically what I want to show you, and I'm going to kind of start and maybe we'll get to it. If not, maybe I'll come out there. When I first took this job, last year's budget was really an ordeal. I had a lot to learn. Probably sat back last year and watched and learned more than I participated. Right or wrong, that's what I did. So this year, I want to be more involved. I have learned a lot. I wanted to apply what I have learned. Ever since I've been in office, I've had 2 big complaints. Number one is, when's my street going to be paid? Yeah, that's still the number one. And the second is, why is all the litter in the county? I think those 2 are justifiable. But then you hear a lot about, this is a veteran community, we need more jobs. And I agree we do, and I want to do everything I can to help us attract more jobs. And the second, of course, is I want to go back to we need more jobs. Our economic development, Robert Reynolds, did a presentation. I was really impressed with the presentation because it showed when he was in Douglas County,
that they had a new company come in and they hired 100 new people, brought in $1 million worth of tax revenue. At the same time, they built a new subdivision, I think 300 plus homes. And don't hold me to these numbers, but I'm not 100% sure. But you'll get the idea. And as that subdivision was built, the subdivision wiped out the new taxes. So therefore, the new subdivision, the cost of services was more than what the tax revenue from the new business brought. He also shows in that presentation that when a new company comes in, say it brings 100 jobs to the county, those 100 jobs, don't all 100 of them are not filled by Paulding County residents. I started looking at a lot of residents in the county, and it runs about 60% of the employees in most businesses, on an average, are Paulding residents. The other 40% actually come from out of the county. So when a new company locates to Paulding, they bring 100 jobs. If we use the same figures, about 60% of them are going to come to the county or be employees of the county. The other 40% of them may move to the county, so most 60 may move to the county. But once they move to the county, if there's not a house, we have to build a house. Every time we build a house, that's another service we have to provide, and it doesn't really pay for itself. So it's kind of like the catch-22, and then how do we ever get to a situation where we're a veteran community? I personally like a veteran community. It's one of the things I liked about Paulding. Paulding County has 25,000 acres of green space. That's amazing. I love that. We'll never be so crammed because of all that green space. And I will do anything to protect that green space. I do not want businesses in the county. But we do need to bring more businesses. We need to try to get as many here as we can. So if that's the case, if you bring a business, doesn't guarantee it's going to help take the burden off the people, which is the second thing. I always hear that 75.73% of the people, and I verified this with Tab, she said it was pretty close, that the tax burden are on them, not on the businesses. So how do you change it? So I started doing research, and what I found out was you do it through the homestead exemption. We've had the same homestead exemption forever, the 2000 mandated state homestead exemption. We've never added to it. So what I did on this little spreadsheet is I added, look at it, I think he's got it up. I did a spreadsheet with Paulding County and every other county around Paulding to see where they were. And most counties, the tax revenue is more on the backs of, hey, Will, how can I see it on my screen? It's not on what? Okay, so I can move it on here. Okay.
That'll work what might be hanging in my office.
Okay. If you look, Paulding County, and what you really look is what's in the yellow highlighted. It shows you that 6.528 is now our millage rate. We either roll it back to 6.1, or even in the new budget that Tabitha did, it's actually rolled back to 6.5. And there's a reason we wanted it at 6.5. In 2008, it was a 6.5. And so we're operating off the 2008 budget. And since that time, if you look down here, an additional 3,661 homes have come into the county. So we got a problem. Plus, we got to provide services to those homes. Now, if you go back up here and you look at the homestead exemption, it's 2,000. You take into all of our rates that add up, we're at 30.749. That 2.22, and Tab, correct me if I'm wrong with this, most of that is because of green space.
And this complex.
I'm sorry?
And
this
complex.
complex, that's right, I forgot, the complex is open too. But that's where the majority of that comes from, okay? So if we go over to Bartow County, and you see ours is what we're recommending the second budget, or the second option. It will be a small rollback, it'll be 6.5 instead of 6.528. What you see is Bartow is at 10.3, but yet they have less tax burden than us. So how did that come about? We know what I just said about the businesses. Well, I started looking, look at their exemption. It's $5,000 on all taxes, all property taxes, okay? You go to Carroll County, they're at 8.414. Same thing, well, they're 4,000. Go to Cobb, they are at 7.12. But look at their exemption, it's 10,000. That's an average of $262.40 per family. Douglas County, 11.809. Their exemption is 6,000. That was kind of interesting. It was only on the county. Only 2,000 was on the school. Haralson County, 12.4, but they're still at 2,000. In Polk County, 11.061, and they're at 2,000. So what we need to do is go before the legislatures, and I found out this is what you have to do. If you want to increase the homestead exemption, you have to take it before the legislature. That's Micah Grafton, Paulette, Howard Maxwell, Kimberly Alexander, and anybody else.
Mike and Bill.
Mike and Bill and senators, yes. And they will vote on it, and I don't think they would turn us down on this. I think they would surely be voted on. But after that, it still has to be put on a ballot to be voted on. When I found all this out, so we're looking at probably 2 years, but the first time we could get on the ballot at this point would be in 2018. But I still propose we do this because we need the millage rate at 6.5 to make this work. At 6.5, it's going to be somewhere a little over $14 on an average per house in the county on $100,000. If you look at that, that means if you have an average house, which is in Paulding County, right down here, Paulding's average home value for this year is $152,000. Cobb's is $258,000, and Georgia's $194,000. So if you take the $152,000 and you actually increase, well, the millage rate right now, where it is, so you pay $1,808.04 in taxes. If you increase it just to $3,000, you pay $1,777.29 or $30.75 back, which means you would probably be about break even. And this is a plan I'd like to put in effect. But since it's going to take 2 years, I'd say go ahead and increase that to a 4,000 homestead exemption. How many people in here would love to have a 4,000 homestead exemption? Thank you. What this does, and you understand how this helps us on the budget, is because it keeps the budget where it is. But what it will actually do is not give a tax break to people who invest in the county as far as rental property. So everybody who has rental property will still have to pay the higher rate. They won't get the 4,000, they'll only get the 2,000. And businesses will not either. That's how we can change that 75.73%. That's the quickest way we can do it. And to me, it's probably one of the only ways to do it as fast as we can. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to talk to you about it. I've shared this with Tony and Todd, and they're aware of it. I've talked to the finance department, BOA, and they understand it. They help me get all these facts together. So I appreciate it. That's all I want to say. So for that, I'd like to take a long look at that second option, with this being our goal in 2 years to have a $4,000 homestead exemption. Thank you.
I'd like to say thanks, Vernon, for working on this. We've talked about this for quite a while. In fact, actually, it's been talked about for years, here and there, and nobody's done anything with it. But this would be on homestead exemption on the home that you live in, that you own, and which would help the residents and the homeowners here, and it would help us get some tax dollars from other folks other than the homeowners with the homestead exemption. And we'll talk a little bit more, I guess, at our next meeting that we're going to have at 1 o'clock on some other things here that will kind of go along with this. But I think if you look back at what Tabitha's put back there for you, and you look back at history over the last 10 or 12 years, that's why we were looking at the 6.5. It is just a very, very small rollback. But we wanted to, the first budget that came out was the chairman's proposed budget, and that's what it's supposed to be. And after talking to department heads and a lot of county employees, and things are getting better here in the community as far as the economy is concerned, we got a lot of departments that need some help. We got a lot of equipment that we need to buy, and this budget that we've proposed, the second budget, does not fix all those problems, and it's not just something to fix for this year, but it's something that we can look at that we hope that values continue to move forward in a positive direction. I know when the values went down, there were people that were frustrated, and I can't believe my house is only worth this, and I can't sell my house. Well, we're going back in the other direction, which is a positive thing for us. And so this isn't something to just fix for today. This is something that they're hoping to, as we adjust with this now, and we look at this year's budget, we're hoping that next year we can even do more and get the department heads and the employees in the county what we need to to move forward to do better for the citizens, because through the downtimes, we've suffered and we've let a few things go. I think we've done good at doing what we needed to do, but now it's time to get caught up on a few things. So, had a little bit of criticism since I made the motion a few meetings back to do what we're doing here today. But just like the reservoir, just like the public hearing that some folks just talked about on what's going on in Hiram, and just like this budget, I think the right thing to do is to put it out to the citizens, share with y'all what is going on, what we feel like we're supposed to do. I feel like I was elected to bring you the truth, the facts, and go from there and make the tough decisions that we need to make. And so Vernon, thanks for your work on this. We've done a lot of talking on it, a lot of research, and there's still more to do. But I think we're moving in the direction that we need to move, so thank you.
Now, I might add one more thing, is I hate tax increases. I do not like it. Without this $4,000 homestead exemption, I wouldn't be for this. But because of that, I am. And you understand that 6.5 will still be the lowest county as far as M&O. All the other counties are higher, in some instances almost twice as high. So it's a good deal, and it sets us into motion for a long time. And that $4,000 homestead exemption will be with us from here on out.
Anybody else wishing to speak on the public hearing before we close? Tabitha, when did we first publish my budget, the very first day?
June 1st.
June 1st. Not one of these gentlemen came to speak to me about the budget except Vernon. And he came to me and he said, what do you think about not rolling this all the way back? And I said, well, Vernon, none of y'all were here with me in 2009. You didn't have to go through the roughest economic time in the history. And I managed this budget with no tax increase. And I had people criticize me, even do a protest when the millage rate was raised. And they said, you will never roll this back. You're just trying to get a big budget operating. So I believe now we've done our 4th rollback, 3 or 4 rollbacks.
I don't have that information with me, but I do have it for the 1 o'clock meeting.
Okay. If you can publish that. So, you know, you publish a budget, you wait for comment, and nobody came but Vernon. And when we sat down, I said, Vernon, I made a pledge to the people, and that I would do a rollback when their home values came back up. Because you do 2 things. When home values go down, you raise millage to try to keep government running. When property values increase, then you roll back millage, as you promised you would. And so that's where we are today with my budget, is a rollback. Then I said to Vernon, we just asked the people for SPLOST, and that's special purpose local option sales tax. It does take a lot of the burden off of homeowners and landowners, and it does distribute it evenly among people, even visitors coming in and out of our county. And he said, David, I can't argue with that. And I said, on top of that, the sheriff has asked for a new jail. We set up a jail that's supposed to have operated 10 to 12 years, and I think we're on 18 plus years. So we're at a point where there's environmental issues in our old jail. The federal government is going to make us, they're going to make us build a new jail, or we can decide in November. So part of what you'll see on the rest of the agenda is a new jail. Now, as far as me on the back of our taxpayers, I can't put a splash and a tax increase and a new jail on the back of the taxpayers. I put out a budget, and this is the first time I've had any of this shared with me about homestead exemption. So you see why it's a little bit of a shock. They meet among themselves and decide what they'll bring to this meeting, and I get to know about it when it's delivered. But I'm telling you, I'm not for a tax increase, only when there is absolute emergency would I be for that. But as I look at this, the contract administration position looks to me like an old community service director job. And 165 million in a contingency looks like awful much like a county administrator position to me, which has been cut out for at least a year. So this was published for you to take a look at. It's in the back, to understand it's in the back, how to be spent. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm not for a tax increase, and that's exactly what this budget would be. Because when Tabitha and I first talked, I said, what if we don't do a complete rollback? She said, then you have to advertise it as a tax increase. And so what's the budget that we're talking about now, which would be at 6.5. 6.5.
We have one at 6.188 and one at 6.5.
Mine is 6.188, and there's a 6.5. 6.5 is a tax increase. Now, people sitting up here made a pledge, no tax increase. Sign the pledge. So that's where we are with the budget.
May I say one more thing, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
By no means do I mean to demean you, Mr. Austin. I think you've done a great job with budget since you've been in here. I wish I could have shared this with you, but I was working on this up until last night. It has been very time consuming. I'm not full-time. This is a part-time position for me, so I have to work on it when I can. Sometimes that's late at night. During this same process, I had 2 pipes in my basement bust, 3 weeks apart from each other. I've been very busy. I've not had a lot of time to do much of anything. It is a tax increase. I'm not telling you it's not. I don't want to have a tax increase. I would love to serve for 4 years and say, hey, I've never had a tax increase. But I had to look at this long and hard and see what is best for the county. The best thing, in my opinion, for this county is to get that 4,000 homestead exemption. As we grow, even increase it more then. You might say, well, why don't we just do the homestead exemption and not do the increase? Well, then you're killing us on the budget. You're taking too much money out of the budget. For this to work, it's got to be at 6.5. Thank you.
Because of the direction that we're going in, I'm going to speak up a little bit. 2005 millage rate, 6.5. Next year, 6.8, 6.5, 6.5, 6.65, 7.6, 7.6, 8.29, 8.22, 7.25 in 2014, 6.528 last year, and then the chairman proposes 6.188. Vernon probably did go talk to Mr. Austin. I did call Mr. Austin. We did not discuss it. This is the chairman's proposed budget that was brought out on June 1st, of which we didn't have any input. Once that proposed budget was out there and we looked at it, I think all of these gentlemen up here took the time to talk to department heads, talk to employees, and see where we were hurting, see where we were lacking, see what we needed. And that's what we did. Through that process, we realized, hey, we've got some issues that we need to take care of in the county. We've got some things that through the tough times, and Mr. Chairman, this is my 6th year with you, we have cut and we have done without, and we have not bought things that we needed to buy in some of our departments. Our employees have had some tough times, whether somebody wants to talk about pay raises or no pay raises, or you want to talk about, hey, I'm taking up extra work here to because I don't have somebody filling this position down the hall that we once had. And we're looking for the future of Paulding County. So I took a lot of criticism when I brought this up several weeks back and said, hey, we need to look at another budget. Let's advertise so that we have the opportunity to look at that budget, which gains us about $1.3 million. And it's not just for this year, it's for what's it going to do for the next few years. We're not looking at just this year. And when you look at what we've added on our proposed budget, which still can be changed. But if you look at what we've added, there's still a lot of things lacking that I think that we need and department heads feel like we need. And there's a lot of department heads that are probably feel like, well, and employees, thanks for what you guys are doing, but what about me in this area, or what about me in this area? We couldn't have the conversation if we hadn't have done what we did to advertise it a few weeks ago. We couldn't even be talking about it, so that's why we did it. As we said, and I think all of us have talked to the department heads and employees, we see they're the ones on the front line, and we see where they're struggling and what they need. The economy's coming back. We've had some employees leave to go back out to the private sector because things are better out there. And we want to make sure we put ourselves in a position to where we can do what's right for the citizens of the county and do what's right for our employees and our departments, and to make sure that we can get the job done out there. No. Just pausing to make sure I say things correctly. This budget is a budget, Mr. Chairman, and this is no disrespect or anything, but this budget that you proposed at the mill rate of 6.188, when you look back at the last 10, 11, 12 years, would be lower than any of them. And we've had a lot of new folks move into the county. And when you look back at the dollars that we were collecting, maybe in 06, 07, 08, 09, and then we had to come back off of that. And I know there was a lot of growth and a lot of good times there. I think there's a cost of doing business. There's a cost of running our county. And that's what we're here to do. And we need to be able to talk about it. When the chairman had his proposed budget, it was his budget. Now, I don't know how many conversations the chairman had with department heads or employees or so on. I don't know that. My view is, my opinion is, we need more, and we needed more. So that's why we went through this process that we're going through. Just like what we've done on the reservoir, just like what some of the comments were made earlier about what's going on in hiring that the citizens are concerned about. This is another thing that we're doing out in the public, out in the view, where we're supposed to be doing it, right here in front of you guys. And if everything in this county was done that way, we'd be in a whole lot better position right now. And that's the way we have to do business in this county, is right here in front of you guys. And sometimes it's tough, sometimes the decisions are tough, sometimes people don't like it. But at the end of the day, this budget that we pass, whatever budget we pass on August 9th, I believe it is, at the end of the day, Mr. Chairman, no disrespect, but you're gone December 31st, and we still have to live with this budget. And next year, there'll be other people that'll have to live with that budget. And we're going to have to make some tough decisions here and there. And I think that we're at a crossroads where we got to look at what's it cost to run the county efficient, how much money does it take. We're all, whatever amount of money we have, we're all going to not agree 100% about exactly where that money goes, okay? But the bottom line is, if we don't have it, we can't even have that conversation. And so, Tabitha, thanks for advertising it. Commissioners, thanks for looking at it and sitting down and talking to the employees, talking to the department heads. And I just appreciate us going through the effort to work on what we're working on, to do what we feel like is the best thing for the citizens of Paulding County. At the end of the day, I don't know what will happen on August 9th. I don't know what the vote would be or what budget we would have or what may be changed between now and then. But I do know the conversations that we're having in front of the citizens is healthy. So I thank y'all for listening. I thank commissioners for taking the time to do what we need to do. And whatever we pass on August 9th, we're going to work together to do the best job that we can for guys, the citizens. So thank you so much.
Thank you for the compliment. Not many people can manage through the worst recession in the history of our county and not do a tax increase. You're looking at somebody had to lay off 70 people. That's not easy. We had to do buyback. We did furlough days, which I didn't have to. I'm an elected official, but I did. And we all struggled, and we struggled our guts out, especially 09 and 10. And you can put lipstick on a pig if you want to, but that pig's name is tax increase. If you can't roll it back now, you won't be able to roll it back next year or the year after that, because there's always going to be exceptions. You've got to go to training and learn how to manage a budget, and I did that. I got the highest certificate you can get it there. So anyone else wishing to speak on the budget?
Chairman, today I don't enjoy my job. Today, being a commissioner, making these decisions are tough. I was here in 09, 010, that period where the layoff took place. I was part of it. It was needed. It had to be done. But these departments today have regrown to the point where they had 7 inspectors in this county. They was left with 2. Today we have 4. We just lost a top-notch inspector to Carroll County. More money. We couldn't pay it. Our erosion department now is in need of help. They've got 2 people. They need help. We're losing people from DOT, the Sheriff's Department, all over, because we can't match the surrounding counties and the private sector. I'm one of those guys that David referred to that said I wouldn't increase taxes. My wife told me, as we talked about it, and I've agonized with this thing. I've talked to the other commissioners. I've talked to the department heads. Anytime I make a mistake, whether it's in my personal life, business life, or right here, I'm willing to own it. I had no idea what I was about to look at this year. I have talked to department heads, I've talked to some constitutional officers, people that's been elected. They were surprised that I had nothing to do with the chairman's budget, but the chairman does that budget and he has that right, that's his job. The chairman did not notify me and ask for any input. We have people sitting in this room right now that render a great service to this county that's been cut out of the budget. But somehow, some way, they've got to figure out a way to render that service. This is a day that I don't enjoy my job. People are going to be angry with us one way or the other. But Vernon has done a terrific job of trying to find a way to lessen the pain of this. And I went over his spreadsheet and looked at it. First of all, I was really impressed with him. I really was. I didn't think Vernon was that smart, but he is. Did a lot of work. And I don't take anything away from David. He's been sitting up here over 7 years. And whether it's good times or bad times, his job's tough. But all of us sitting up here asked for the jobs. We actively worked to be where we're at today. Every one of us. I hope I never used the word that I inherited something. An inheritance is a whole lot different than asking for it and getting it. There's a difference. Vernon, like I said, has shared this with me, and I'm really impressed. It lessens the pain for me. And whether I vote for or against, I'm going to be ridiculed because I made the statement that I would not increase taxes. My wife said, don't use the word ignorant if you're ignorant. I said, well, somebody will. But sometimes we make mistakes. Sometimes we write a check that we can't cash, but this county has an amount of money they have to function, and running a drywall company for years. Sometime I had to sit down at my table and look at where I was losing money, and if I had to increase my cost as I got material bills in and labor went up, I had to make an adjustment. And at this level, when you're an elected official, when you make that adjustment, you're going to be ridiculed, and some people actually understand that you can't continue by lowering the budget every year and pay your health what they need to be paid, take care of things that have to be taken care of. Our job as a county, as far as I'm concerned, is the safety of this county, and y'all know what the focus that is, and the infrastructure of this county. And sometimes we get involved in other things that's been brought into this county that we're spending money on. This board didn't put them there, but they're there, and we have to deal with it. So like I said, today, I don't like my job. But Wayne Kirby once said, and I quoted this before, I asked for the job, and I'll do it. Thank you.
One of the things to take a look at that hasn't changed in probably, yes, but I'll try to get you some numbers about one. We haven't changed our permit fees in years and years and years. And rather than raise your taxes, these permit tech and an inspector could come from fees. That's something we need to take in consideration and take a look at. It was brought to my attention, and you know, I think I can probably have something by the next meeting to say what it ought to go up to, and that would pay for your permit tech and your inspector. But now, Ms. Crowe, you and I live in the same neighborhood, but you had a public meeting said, look me in the eye when I tell you this, I will never raise your tax.
I just owned that, David. You missed it.
No, I heard you say you changed your mind. But our airport president changed his mind and he was criticized. So it's like, is it bad on one side and not on the other? You know, I'm owning this budget, and I said to y'all, when I made the pledge, I won't do a tax increase. And my budget says we won't. Now, that budget is published out to these commissioners to inspect and come to me with any changes they want to make to that budget. None but Vernon. Okay. But again, look at everything cumulative. You got a budget, possibly with a tax increase in it. You've got county splashed. You've got bonds to pay for a new jail. So it's a combination of all those things, not out individually, but how are they combined? Do Carroll, Bartow, and the others have a fire tax? It was brought to my attention that you've got to keep that included in what you're talking about because it's part of people's taxes. Anybody else want to speak on the budget? Yes, ma'am.
See where you're going at, so if I make a comment. Mr. Chairman, I agree with you. There's a difference of, I've been talking to Carol, they're actually talking about putting in a fire tax. I've even got that noted on my spreadsheet. What I want to say is, it is true, Calvin Thompson made a change of mind. Tony's thinking about changing his mind. One was criticized, Tony will get criticized too, but there's a difference between the two. There's a man in this room that started the whole no tax increase, and he asked me to do it, and I wouldn't do it because I didn't know what I was getting into and didn't know what the future may hold, and I'm glad I did not. But I know for a fact Tony met with that guy because I was in the meeting and explained to him, and that guy said, you know, I understand. He said, I'd let you out of that. I don't know if he's willing to stand up and say that or not, but he did say he would let him have that promise. When Calvin Thompson decided to do what he did, he didn't come back to the public. He didn't go to the city of Atlanta and say, hey, I know we make promises to you, but please let us out of it.
Susan Watkins. I did. Thank you. My husband and I are on a very fixed income. And Vernon, thank you for proposing the homestead exemption. I appreciate that. However, whether that goes through or not, my husband and I are more than happy to kick in our $15 to $20 this year to make Paulding County a better, safer place to live. This is where we live. It's important. And if we're going to start talking about things that are in our future or things that have required our tax dollars that people aren't real happy about, let's not overlook the airport and the breach of contracts that Mr. Smith has brought to us, okay? So all I'm saying is I can't go to the movies for $15 a year or $15 per show. So you're more than welcome to it. And also, Mr. Austin, you've made your point, your position. I appreciate your willingness to roll it back, but if it means the county's going to be compromised, I'm on board with these other gentlemen, and no one's going to hang it on you. And you've done what you said you would do. You continued to roll back the millage rate during your service. So thank you for that, but we can't get ridiculous and lose sight of the ramifications of not bringing enough tax dollars in. Especially, you know, if I need the sheriff or his deputy to show up one day, I want to make sure there's enough that will. So, anyway, just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you, Sue.
I will now close the, I'm sorry. You spoke again. Okay. I'm sorry.
Public hearing, sir. I am the originator of the tax pledge that I've asked everybody to sign in multiple counties. Tony did sign that pledge. I was in a meeting with him in Vernon. Chairman, you have played with this budget for many years. I've stood in this podium before. I've watched you do the things you've done. I've watched you spend $90,000 trying to push a toll road on these people and waste money. What you have done this year is try to set up the future people with your budget. And sir, I will remind you also, I was a candidate in Douglas County, and you got on Facebook twice and called me a liar. That's not right, sir.
Thank you. Anything else?
That conversation that all of you just had was exactly what I was up here talking about. It's hard for me to understand, David, how you can sit there and say you have not raised taxes. Sir, I was with you downstairs in the cafeteria when you first took office and you raised taxes. You raised taxes. So don't come here with none of the bull. You've done it. You know you've done it. Most of these people out here know you've done it. Now you're sitting there with a little halo over your head, and the reality is that you raised the fire tax levy from 2 or 2.1 to 3.1. You did not roll that back. We're still paying that in your proposed budget today. We're still paying it, and we will continue to pay it. And if that's what it takes to have the fire protection, I got no problem with that. But don't sit there and tell people that you have not raised taxes. You've done the same thing to pay for this building. It's still in the budget. And we got to pay for it. You didn't do it. But we're still paying for this building, and we will be paying for it for years and years to come. And you had to raise the budget. You had to do it to pay the bills when you took office, because the previous administration left you in a mess. And what I'm seeing, and I'm sorry, but what I'm seeing today is you're trying to do the next administration the same way. We've got a reservoir that we're looking at 230, 240 million. We got to pay for that. Today, we're looking at a jail that's going to be put on a referendum, and I have to give you full credit that you're letting the people make a decision on that. You didn't on the reservoir, but you did on that. And you'd be commended for that. But 95 more million that has got to go on a bond that we have got to pay. We got to pay that. Splash tax. You proposed a new splash tax and the people bought it. That's a tax increase. I know it's a renewal. Before you jot it down, I know it's a renewal. But sir, this county is going to receive millions more in this splash than they received in the last splash. So don't say it's not a tax increase. It is a tax increase. In addition to that, the state has given you more money for the DOT. They gave you more money. And yet, you're sitting here saying that you never raised taxes. Yes, you raised taxes. Now, the problem I got with some of the commissioners is we had an opportunity to cut this budget $375,000. You made the intergovernmental agreement. You made it against these folks right here. They are stuck with that. I stood up right here in January of 15 and asked every one of you that was here. Tony was here. Ron wasn't. Don't abide by it. Let the Superior Court of the state of Georgia tell you that what he done is right. Okay? Nothing wrong with that, was it? But you didn't do that. But that's $375,000 that you can take out of this year's budget and tell them to go stuff the airport. I'm not opposed to giving people a raise. I think you need to look at what's going on with the IBA. I've been saying this and saying this and saying this, and I'll continue to say it. And why am I saying this in a public hearing? I tell you why, Mr. Chairman. I sit right over there in the council meeting of the city of Dallas and watched and heard and listened to the Industrial Building Authority approve $8 million plus in bonds for the city of Dallas for a sewage system that half of it run to the airport and the other half of it is running out here to a subdivision that's gonna build 1,920-something houses on it. But that ain't what really amazed me about that. Is I'm sitting there, and we had to delay the meeting because the guy that done the IGA agreement for you was late getting to the meeting with a resolution that was to be voted on by you, your brother, and the other members of the IPA. Mr. Chairman, you or your brother or no one in that meeting took a chance to even read what was actually in that 77-page resolution to spend $8 million that you put me and every one of us in debt for. You done that. And you want to sit up there with a halo around your head and say you have not done this or you have not done that. Mr. Chairman, that document contained out and out lies from the IBA. That document says that they have never forfeited on a bond payment. Now I'm asking the commissioners, have y'all got the bond payment? Did somebody come back and pay the bond payment for the film studio? I haven't heard anything about it. That's a forfeiture, sir. But yet you signed your name and your brother signed his name to that fact. That document also claims some falsifications as far as who was the Chamber of Commerce. You had Ralph Reynolds listed on there. Ralph Reynolds wasn't sitting up there at that table. Carolyn Wright was. But yet the document was approved by you and your brother and the IBA. Now, right's right and wrong's wrong. I don't know whether we're going to need to raise taxes or not. If it's needed to raise taxes to pay people, I'm for it. If it's needed to raise taxes to provide some devices or something that somebody needs, use the splash fund for it. You don't need that. That's what he's been doing for years. We need to get right. You need to be honest with the people.
Anyone else wish to speak on the public hearing? And again, I'll go back and tell you, in M&O, I've never raised taxes.
Yeah.
I will now declare this public hearing closed. We'll go to new business item number 2, RX Medical. I believe you all have a presentation for us today.
It was drywall.
Yes, I believe you want to talk to us, if you'll introduce you and your partner.
Yes, my name is Jeff Locke. I'm Chief Operating Officer for Redneck Medical.
Our President and CEO, John Lewis, is here also. We wanted to come and explain to you folks what exactly we're doing here at the location at Hiram Industrial Park to help everyone understand exactly what we are doing, because I do believe there are some misconceptions about what we are doing. And the main thing that I've seen that I keep hearing on comments and things is that we are incinerating. Okay? I want everybody to not use that word, because that is not what we're doing. That is a completely different process, and that is not what we're doing. There's no incineration allowed in the state of Georgia at this time. And I guess one important part is why we are here. It is a requirement by the EPD that we have a public hearing, and I guess we're going to have to redo the public hearing part of this at next month. But we wanted to come today to explain to you folks, and so when you talk to people, you can either refer them to me or be able to explain this in the right context. First, I wanted to show you all the location. There is no address presently at this location, but it is, I think it's referred to as Lot 3 or Post 3. This shows a location of the building that we are proposing to locate there, and it actually even shows there's a large setback on the right side. It's here, you can see that large setback, and on this side that we have to adhere to. Let me see here. And what is Red X Medical? Red X Medical is a medical waste processing facility. What we will be doing is we will be providing containers at local medical facilities, servicing those containers, returning them on a truck to our location, and processing that medical waste there. And you say, what constitutes medical waste? It's basically the red bag waste. I believe somebody mentioned chemotherapy and those sort of things. We do not process that at our location. Those types of waste are transported actually to a location that is out of Maryland. So we will not be processing any of those. The process we use is an autoclave system. It uses high temperature pressurized steam to penetrate and treat the red bag waste. It's about a 45-minute process for each cycle. Once the waste is removed from that vessel, it is considered regular solid waste. And when I say what it's considered is, we are regulated by the EPD of Georgia. And again, back to why we are here, again, this is one step in our process to be approved for the permit for that location, for this location. This is just one of the check items that they have. There are many, many more that we have to present to them and show our processes, our techniques that we use. They have to approve the equipment that we're using, that it meets all the standards, that it is being treated properly, and we are regulated on a constant basis with them. And that is the level of regulation we are at. I'd like to show you bear with me here. These are pictures that are in landfills, okay? These are actually local wastes from local facilities that are in the area that have been taken after production at a different facility and put into landfills. And the reason I'm showing you this is because I want to show you all our process. We feel our process is better and better for the environment. a minute. But again, all those are just the waste that is being used and deposited into the landfill. This is our system. Our system is called a rotoclave. It is a version, it is a type of autoclave system. And an autoclave, like I said, is high pressurized, high temperature steam, and it's the same thing as what a dentist would use to treat their utensils that they use to do their work. Except theirs is this big, ours is as big as this one. You'll notice right here this that container right there is a 95-gallon container. We'll use various containers, and I'm sure y'all have seen these at the locations of medical facilities in various sizes. We will transport these back to our location. There is requirements by EPD of those containers have to be secure when they are transported to the location. Once they are located, brought back to our location, we process it through our rotoclave. Here's another picture of, well, let me take it back right here. This dumping system ensures that our employees do not have to, minimizing the physical interaction with the waste. This shows the process. Our process is what we call a rotoclave, but it is an autoclave on steroids. It tumbles inside, it breaks up the waste bags, and so that the heat and steam can get to the materials and treat it completely. And again, once it's removed out of there, it is considered regular solid waste. Now here's what we're going to do differently than other folks. Once it comes out, it goes into a conveyor system. It goes into a shredding machine. It's just a large shredder. And what comes out the other end is this. Our process reduces the waste by approximately 65% by the volume. Then what we do is that goes into a 40-yard container, just like any other commercial use container, and then it's transported to a landfill. Let me show you a picture of what it looks like. Just to kind of give you a picture of the difference from the other folks' waste and our waste. And what we like about this is the medical facilities that we are servicing like this because we're treating the waste differently. They feel this is a better process, and so do we. The landfill likes it because it reduces the size of the waste, and it also is more compactable to the landfill. This is just our team that we have accumulated for this process. We aren't coming into this not knowing what we're doing. We have lots of experience, and we will be operating the correct way. Again, the EPD will continuously regulate us to make sure we do, or else they will shut us down. Back to the building here. The building is going to be a standard, regular building. Our traffic will not be any different than any other commercial business on that road coming in and out there. I think the question was, why did we live here? First of all, it was logistics. Logistics for the contracts we have that we're looking to do. This is a great spot for us to be able to get to where we're located. Also the economics of that, and then the work of the labor force. I would like to offer to anybody that wants to speak to me or John, I'll be happy to explain, talk to, let you know what we're doing. And we want to be upfront about it. help out and be part of the commercial community. I know we are the first location in there, and I can't really speak to what the landowners are doing from that standpoint, but I do know they have other companies that are looking at some other lots in that location.
I'd like to ask you a few questions that came up from the concerns. Is there any type of smokestack or anything that puts out
thank you for asking.
waste? And
yes.
also, to go along with that, seepage, any way for any of that material to leave your premises?
Well, with the regulation with EPD, if there is at any time any problem with our equipment, for one thing, it won't work. It's pressurized, so it won't work. If there's anything like that, we have to transport to a secondary location that is approved by the EPD also. So that'd be like a sister company, say it is at another location.
So there's no smokestack or anything goes
No,
outside the
what we have is, like I said, it's the rotoclave. It's pressurized. It's the pressurized vessel here. It does have a steam release through the process, so there will be a steam release out the top, but it will dissipate within a couple of feet. But it is sterile steam once it dissipates, once it is released. The system is every time it goes through a process, every load that goes is verified and checked and meets the time and temperature standards. We put in indicators into the vessel that we take out. They have to meet certain standards. If it doesn't meet that standard, it's reprocessed. Those are recorded and presented to the EPA, so they're constantly monitoring it.
Yeah, I've got a couple questions too.
Yes.
You made a comment that steam does come out of the machine. Do they rate that steam like, is it 50% sanitized, 100%? 100%.
It's sterile steam. It's heated to approximately 295 degrees for a period of 45 to 50 minutes.
It comes out of the machine, and the product is also,
Yes, it is considered solid waste.
it is sterile.
It is sterile.
Do they rate that sterilization too? Is there a rating on that? Do they say, hey, that's 98.9 or?
It's 100%. If we, like I say, we put indicators in the vessel along with the process, and if the indicator does not turn the right color that it's supposed to, then it has to be reprocessed. And that has to be documented and recorded and presented.
Is there a way to have a breach? I mean, can you have like a contamination somehow
Well, I guess that one thing back to the beginning of this, everything we do is within the four walls of the building. The only thing you see outside would be trucks, just like any commercial building. If there is a spill or something like that from one of those containers, okay, I mean, I guess that's a viable thing, is that one of the containers falls on the floor inside the building. Then we have a process that we have to go by. It's a dry cleaning process, and we have certain products we have to clean. And then we take all that and we put it into the rotoclave process.
Do the employees wear any kind of special uniforms or gloves?
They'll wear gloves, but it's not an invasive process.
You made mention that it would be removed from there and taken to a landfill. You said something about Maryland.
Oh, no, sir. Somebody had mentioned chemotherapy waste, which is one thing that is produced at medical facilities, depending on what they do. Those things will not be, chemotherapy waste is not processed with us.
What is processed? What are the items?
It is what you refer to as red bag waste. anything that is,
Verify that.
it's usually, gloves, gowns, soil, sheets, gauze pads, anything from, an operation or something, any products, anything like that used, anything but metal.
Would that
IV
go,
bags.
would that go from there after it's purified and after it's cleaned up, would it go to our dump?
I don't believe it's gonna go to the Paulding County.
And how did y'all find your location? Do you know that?
How did we find it?
Yes.
Speaking with the McNeils.
McNeil?
They own that location, that whole industrial park.
It was on the market, y'all found it that way with McNeil's, or did McNeil's find it for you?
No, we found it through the McNeils.
What's the,
Found it.
sorry.
Go ahead.
What's the size of your operation? Are you talking about, how many employees? Are you bringing those people here, or those jobs that you will find for people that will find people here?
One thing I mentioned was that's one reason we looked here is because of the labor force. So, most of our, employees will be office and drivers, and that's a good location for that. And, so initially, we believe it'll be, 20, 25, jobs, and then hopefully we have loftier goals.
Right.
3 or 5, but that's initial. We hope to be at 35 to 45.
How many other facilities like this do you have?
We have 0. We do not have, this is a starting point.
Okay.
Will your building have anything on it, or any of your trucks have anything on it that says hazardous waste?
Yes, all of ours will. We aren't, it's funny thing, EPD requires you to have not a placard, but a sticker, a biohazardous waste sticker of a certain size on your vehicle, as long as you're transporting more than 8,800 pounds of waste. But we will have them on all of it. People are transporting one.
I know what an autoclave is. So this is pretty much the same, just a bigger,
Yes.
bigger unit. It does a little bit more, I guess. So other than the steam leaving, you said there's no smokestacks, so we get that. But other than the steam leaving, it's 100% okay. Is there anything else that leaves that container other than the product itself that you're taking out?
Through the steam process, it's saturated steam. So there is water that goes there to the sanitary sewer. And it's sterile water.
Where's this thing?
And I know, like I said, I know how an autoclave works, and I know that you put things in an autoclave, whatever they call it, that you put in there along with your things that you're sterilizing, that lets you know that, hey, this was a successful sterilization. So I assume that also includes the water that leaves that container?
I'm not sure.
Well, you talk about this, I see a lot of folks from Hiram here in the room. I see a lot of folks that I know from a lot of different backgrounds, a lot of different lives. And so they're concerned. I see the looks on their face. And I appreciate you being here, especially after sitting through 2 hours, what you had to sit through. You look like a deer in the headlight when you first got there, and I get it. So I appreciate it, but it's a prime example of what's close to you in your neighborhood, or where you live, or where you raise your family, that those things are important to people. Whether there's things to worry about, or whether it's perception, or whatever, and I see the looks on some of the citizens' face, and that's, I get it. So when we talk about that steam leaving and we say that steam's 100% purified, good, and we talk about, we open it up and we look and we see our little things that are in there, I don't know what you guys call them, but they say, hey, this was a successful batch. What about that water that leaves during that process or after that process? Because that's what the citizens are concerned about. I mean, we're spending a lot of money on a reservoir for drinking water for our people.
The process that we use, okay, meets the standards of what EPD regulates us by. That system, before it can be installed, has to go through tests through the EPD, through our engineers, through the manufacturer of the equipment. We have to run a certain number of cycles to where it meets those standards before we can even begin operation. Again, those indicators show that process is working, and that is verified through the EPD. So, it's a process that works. It's a process that's used all around the country. The autoclave system is the best out there. We think this is better because it breaks all the waste up and you're able to penetrate all. Those other pictures I showed you, I would not be standing up here having a business that ran an autoclave that processed it like that. Okay? That's why we're going to pay $300,000 more for our system to make sure it's done right.
Mr. Lockett, can still the water that's left over after running the cycle?
Yes.
I think he's asking how sterile is that water and where does it go at that point?
It's 100% sterile.
It goes
to sanitary sewer system. It's just like if you, it's sterile water because of how high, at the high level of treatment, the temperature treatment, and the period of time. And this is all, it's all automated. It's not done by the guy standing there. He's verifying everything, but it's all recorded. The waste that goes into the, where the waste comes from, what facility it comes from, how long the waste was treated for. It gives an indication of how many, what the temperature was, the whole process. It reads out. The customers can have that for their information also. We have a off-site backup of the server for that system where anything happens, we can still get that information. So it's a very, very sophisticated operation.
We're kind of up against the clock. I don't know how long you guys dedicated to be here. Pat, can we make our cafeteria available to them if people want to meet with them and ask questions?
No, we can't conserve voting.
No, it's today's Monday, so we can't.
Early voting's over, so the cafeteria it is available if you guys want to take a little time.
Sure. We're welcome to meet with anybody.
So, Mayor and anybody else that has concerns, if y'all would like to meet with them downstairs, she reminds me we're up against the clock.
But can I ask Lonnie this, please, or is it not appropriate?
I don't know what question you're asking.
I get it's not a dirty question. I just didn't know if I could ask one at this time. Lonnie, my question to you is we need to know if this is a public hearing and it's required by the EPD, who is interested in what we even care? I mean, if our
This is not a
commissioners...
public hearing.
All right, we have to still hold a public hearing because this didn't count.
That's right, I know, but with the next one, who is going to be caring what we're here and asking and saying
The
then?
permits that have to be issued for this have to be issued by community development with relation to our actual local ordinances and by EPD. So probably my suggestion is that if there are comments that need to be May that those are submitted to EPD.
Okay.
Because these gentlemen will not vote on this application like a zoning or a special use permit.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank
Just
you.
real quick, and I know we are pushed on time, but yeah, I think you need to get with the mayor of Hiram. We got a lot of folks in here from Hiram that, so you need to get with her and talk to her some more. And I understand her question because basically this isn't the public hearing, but yet we're going to have a public hearing, but it's going to be held here, but yet this board doesn't have any input. So I'd like to say I think you need to get with the mayor of Hiram and some of their citizens. But is the EPD, will they have somebody on site at all times?
No.
Okay, so that's just basically something where you keep logs. Okay,
That's not a possibility.
I just wanted to ask the question.
Yes.
So thank you.
But we are continuously monitoring all this.
Right.
Including pop in,
Thank you.
Subject to inspection.
Thank you.
Number 3, discuss action to adopt resolution 16-28, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of Paulding County, Georgia, authorizing the issuance of certain general obligation bonds to fund certain projects from the Paulding County Sheriff's Office and requesting the Paulding County Board of Registration and Elections call a special election for the voters of Paulding County, Georgia, to approve the issuance of said general obligation bonds and further specifying the use of proceeds from such bonds, approving the form of ballot question to be used in the special election on the notice of the special election and for other purposes. Nancy?
Okay, what this is on here for is a couple of things. This sets up the parameters by which any general obligation bonds related to the construction of the jail could be issued, and those are that have a maximum shall not exceed number of 77 million. I know we've had a couple of different numbers thrown around over time, and it's 77 would be the aggregate principal amount, and it would have a maturity date of no longer than 2048 and an interest rate not to exceed 5.5. More specifically, the other thing it does is it asks the election supervisor through the Board of Elections and Registrations to put this on the ballot for a special election to be held in conjunction with the general election in November. So this will be on the November ballot. And I did want to read the question. The question that will appear on the ballot is, shall a total of not more than 77 million in aggregate principal amount of Paulding County general obligation bonds be issued for the purpose of, 1, paying all or a portion of the cost of acquiring, constructing, equipping, and furnishing a replacement Paulding County Sheriff's Office Detention Center and other related facilities located in Paulding County, and/or 2, paying capitalized interest on the bonds and/or costs associated with issuing the bonds, question mark, with a yes or a no. If more than 50% of the qualified voters of Paulding County vote yes to this question, then bonds would be issued. If less than 50% vote, then they would not. And the sheriff is here if you want to address questions about safety for the jail. We've talked about that on and off for the last several years.
Any questions of the sheriff? Gary, thank you for being here, and I want to recognize our DA, Dick Donovan, came in since the early part of the meeting. I want to introduce him.
Yeah, I apologize for being late. I had to hear my wife back to the doctor this morning. Everything's good with her, so I'm trying to take care of that and get here too. I've already read an article come out in the paper today that we've been quietly talking about this. Every one of y'all are sitting here. I didn't want anything about this to be quietly. I want to put it out in the public because I don't want to be any of the ones accused of doing things behind closed doors or behind people's backs. So I thought the best way that I know to do this is show them. Of course, I know we have a need for a jail. The grand jury says the same thing. Anybody that comes over that knows anything about jails, tours our jail, our facility, is in total obstacle agreement with it. I don't want this to go out that we're quietly trying to do anything. That's why I said put it on the ballot, let the public see it. Let them know what's going on, let them vote for it. It's either we will or we won't according to the public's wishes.
Now, you had a jail that was designed to operate so long and a jail that's operated so long, so give us those dates.
The jail we got now was built in, we occupied it in 1990. It was pretty much a Band-Aid to get us out of the old jail, which was the last way to fall it down. It's supposed to be a 10-year fix. It had 200 beds in it when we moved in. We had about, and I was working in the jail at the time, so I've got a little bit of knowledge of it. We usually kept between 25 and 30 prisoners that were Spalding County prisoners. The rest of the beds in the jail, we had rented out space to surrounding communities that needed bed space. I would like to be able to find the numbers. My speculation is that the jail for the first several years made money. After that, I don't know, but I know right now it's full of only county prisoners. We don't house any prisoners other than for the city of Hiram. When I came in, we had 300, well, we kept adding beds to the jail and kept adding beds to the jail, so the fire marshal said you can't add any more beds, so we're at the max we can allow. So basically, we've been running over 300 beds in the jail that's built for 210, and it takes a toll on the whole building. We've been fighting roof issues for numerous years, water running down the walls. The kitchen is built for, it was made for a 200-bed jail and now service, and a 300-bed, the laundry, the same thing. The building's no way to add on to it, no way to go out or up. Don't know of any way to fix it. You know, I've got pictures back at the sheriff's office back when the jail was built. It's basically concrete containers that's brought in on tractor trailers and set off on a concrete pad. And nobody knows any way to fix it. The design of the jail is old and antiquated at best. It's not up to standards. We're having several issues with trying to classify prisoners and keep the ones away from other prisoners that we're required to keep them away from, so we need more beds. As we sent out to the Georgia Sheriff's Association, they done a needs assessment for us, and they take in our daily population of inmates. They take information from the community on what the population will be as growing numbers. So what I told them, this jail, the way we're looking at designing is it would have 660 beds, and also try to get the land to go along with it so that in the future, when these needs come up again, they can build another tower beside the existing tower that's exactly the same, and then tie the two together after completion, so that we wouldn't have to look at this again for hopefully 50 or 60 years. And by then, I don't expect to be here.
Any more questions of the sheriff?
I guess the only other thing I wanted to add is the sheriff was very specific that he wanted to hold this on the November ballot because he did want to be open about the process, and that should be the largest turnout for voters that we'll have in the next few years.
I agree. I think it'll be the largest turnout, and also I didn't want to burden the taxpayers, since I am one with having to have a special election. We talked to you about what the cost would be, and then if we do that, I'm going to get probably questions from the public. You didn't know this, so there wouldn't many people show up. I thought, put it out there to the public, and let's see what happens.
For that, Gary, I personally am very grateful that you want to keep it out front.
Thank you.
The master plan originally, what you're looking at down here, was to tie on this thing to the side of the court, so these guys will not have to be transported. They can walk out of that jail to the courtrooms. Is that still the way it's going to work?
I can tell you that I accidentally seen the master plan, and I don't know what, I've always heard that, I've always heard that the plans were to build a jail, the sheriff's office behind the courthouse, and attach the jail to the courthouse basement where we do inmates in and out, in a tunnel system where they never have to go outside.
I actually did saw those also, and it's a good plan, is all I'm saying.
I think it would be the right place. I think it would be a good fix. Whether the public goes along with it or not, I guess we'll find out in November. Y'all approve this question?
I think we had to run around and I think somebody found those plans. We didn't even know they existed.
Yeah, I stumbled across them, I guess by accident. I was told I didn't need to look at them, but I did anyway. And I've always heard that they was done, and I don't think it's anything before blueprints is actually drawn, but there is in the first floor down here, there is a copy of blueprints about this thick, and it does show a jail facility attached to the rear courthouse.
Thank you.
I know where we're at right now, I'm also the names, but it looks like they're going to, in order to build this building the way they want it and have a visitation center on site, so you can have video visitation. Looks like they're going to be needing a neighborhood of 9 to 10 acres, and I think according to I think there's 7 available now. So some of this land right back here around, and I don't know what y'all's future plans are for here, but I know I've heard that they'd like to acquire more land in the backside. I think if we do this, we're probably going to have to acquire more land. Anything else? Anything for the public?
Thank you.
And I'll be around after the meeting. If anybody wants to talk one-on-one, I'm always open. If not, I work every day. Come see me or call. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
Number 4, discuss action to authorize the chairman to enter a development agreement with McNeil Lakeside North Properties LLC to fund improvements to Metromont Road in the amount of $84,255. Scott Green.
Thank you. The Hiram Industrial Park, which y'all pretty much know about, so the old pool road was reconstructed and realigned with Metromont Road. A new crossing gate system was put in for safety, and the original developer was Hiram Communities, went out of business back around 2010, and did not quite finish the development of the park. The streets were in, the lots were basically ready to be subdivided and to bring in economic development, then it just went inactive. We had a development agreement for the original zoning. The developer's bank actually paid the funds that were required for the railroad crossing improvements, $160,000, which we received 158 of that. So that was good. But we do have some remaining road improvements for the south side of the development coming out Old Pool Road, which is now Metromont to Angum, because truck traffic could come in from Angum and East Hiram Parkway or Bill Cruz Parkway now. We required the developer to improve the road to a 28-foot width. The road is about 21 feet wide between the park and Angum Road. So we approached the developer who was getting ready to start. McNeil purchased the property, and I understand they've got a very large manufacturer possibly coming soon, expansion of a business in the county, and they're anxious to get the final plat finished up and satisfy all the development requirements. So we prepared this agreement, which would involve the widening of the road for $84,000. That would bring our total developer contribution to $242,000 if you include the railroad payment that was already made previously by the original developer's bank. We would administer this over time. The developer would also pay for it over time, the way we set this up. That's to allow them to go ahead and invest in the property, bring new customers in, new jobs in, and then spread that burden over a little bit of time. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them. I'll also add, I'm familiar with McNeil. Stephen McNeil, when I worked with, he has had a pretty good presence in Paulding County in some previous developments. They back up to Bill Cruz Parkway. The new road we built on each side runs behind their development off of Old Labor, and also familiar with some of the other buildings they put up. And they have a good track record in Paulding County, to my experience.
Any questions?
No, thank you.
Thanks.
Got us everything
Thank you,
we needed
Scott.
earlier, thank you.
Number 5, discuss action to approve development agreement between Paulding County and Ford Developer Substream proposed Stonewood outfall sewer. Lori Ashmore and Kelly Comstock.
Just Lori. This morning under the bid awards, we saw the Stonewood Creek outfall bid come in. This agreement is coupled with that. Under this agreement between the county and the four developers, we would construct the sewer line through our property to that upstream property line. The 4 upstream developers commit to providing gravity easement and constructing gravity sewers through their properties and allowing us to ensure that gravity sewer service is available upstream at the Cedar Crest and Dallas-Ackworth Highway intersection area. Some of these developments we're going to be going in, and we're looking at pump stations, small lift stations, and not in the best interest overall of the system. And so we were able to pull all 4 parties together. And while it took a while to get to this point, it's in best interest overall for our system, as well as improving the value of the county property.
Well, I want to thank you. I know that you've worked hand in hand with myself and the developers of the county to make this work. And you've got a lot of hours in it, a couple of lunches. Thank you so much.
And we've had, I've had great support from our assistant director in taking this on and running with it so that we can hopefully get under construction soon.
Number 6, discuss action to adopt resolution 16-29, amending resolution 16-24 to allow payments to extend beyond 2050 to 2058.
At y'all's last meeting, you adopted the parameters resolution that related to the bonds to be issued from the water system for the Richland Creek Reservoir project. Within that resolution, we did have a maximum payment schedule that went through 2050, and all we're asking you to do with this resolution is to extend that schedule to 2058.
Any questions? On this issue?
Thank you. I got the chance to talk to Pat about it. We all did, so we're good.
That's the conclusion of regular session. We did have executive session on here. That's been canceled for real estate. Now we're in part of our program where we have public participation on non-agenda items. These people had to sign up last week to speak. And we have Catherine Melton, request for renewal of contract for advocacy program. And I so apologize that this is taking so long.
It's okay. Good morning, Ms. Gill.
Good morning, Ed.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me to come to the meeting this morning to discuss, hopefully, to reactivate our contract with our commissioners to provide advocacy for our victims in Paulding County. Just to kind of set up and frame in what I wanted to discuss with you very quickly, and I know I've only got 5 minutes, and I just want to say to you, it's really hard for me to talk about domestic violence in Paulding County in 5 minutes because it is my heart and my passion, and that is also the passion of our team that works with us out at Shepherd's Rest. But we provide legal advocacy for victims of domestic violence here in the county through our shelter program. We began providing those services in 2002. The shelter has been a vital service in the county since 1997. We began providing legal advocacy in 2002 at the request of our Sheriff's Department. In that year, we had a bordering county that was providing legal advocacy to the county, and somehow the wheels fell off the buggy, I guess, and we were contacted through our Sheriff's Department and said no one is providing legal advocacy. Called in Georgia Legal Services. We were trained and certified through Georgia Legal Services through our court, excuse me, and also certified through the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. We began providing the services that very year. We entered a contract with our commissioners in 2006, I believe it was. Once a year we would renew that contract. The commissioners would simply call me and ask me to come over and sign the contract. We would have communication through the year how things were going, and all was well. In 2010, the contract was severed abruptly. We didn't have any warning. We didn't have any kind of communication about that whatsoever. It was just ended. So our team had to really work hard and scramble to get things in place to continue to provide these services. Now, the legal advocacy that we provide citizens is when your family members call our shelter hotline and say, our Sheriff's Department, our first responders, or whomever gave me a little card and said to call you for a protective order. At that point, we began to do the paperwork that is required, and it's standardized throughout our state. And then there is what is known as an ex-parte hearing. That victim comes into the court and talks to the judge and tells him or her what has happened. And if the judge is able then to find that an act of family violence has occurred, or has a reasonable belief that family violence has occurred, they go ahead and issue a temporary order. Here in Paulding County, our temporary protective orders last typically a couple of weeks, and then that victim has to come back to the court system
to have a hearing against that individual that they allege has perpetrated domestic violence against them. At that time, the other party has a right to be here to answer any complaints against them, and also to provide witnesses and testimony and so forth. I just want to say to you that it's been said that, oh boy, anybody can walk up and get a TPO. That's not true. It's a very stringent process. There are criteria under Georgia law that must be met in order to have a TPO order issued against you. So we started that process. Things were going along wonderfully well. We were working very diligently, giving into the community and protecting our citizens through the court system as best as we can. Of course, you know, temporary protective orders simply paper, and it's really no protection, but it does show the powers that be that we mean business this time. So moving forward to 2010, as I said, our contract was abruptly severed, and we didn't have any indication as to why that was. I made an attempt, actually I made numerous attempts to find out why the contract had been severed, and our phone calls were not answered, our emails were not answered, and we couldn't make any connection, we couldn't get any answers as to what had happened. So I guess that's my 5 minutes. I told you I wouldn't be able to do this in 5 minutes. So I'm here today to ask my commissioners. Part of you have already been to our site, you've toured, and you know the value of the services that we provide to our citizens in Paulding County. I have commitment that the ones that have not visited are going to be visiting tomorrow, hopefully. And we're excited about that. So we're just appealing to you today to renew our contract. If you don't know much about our shelter program, we don't get government funding. When we do our Evening with Elvis events and other fundraisers, that is specifically money that goes into our operating budget alone. The monies that we petition our commission for go strictly to advocacy. We don't have county cars that we ride around in. Oftentimes we pay out of our own pocket to buy the gas to go pick up victims that need to come to court. And I'm not a bleeding heart or trying to present myself as a martyr. I'm appealing to you. I am a taxpayer. First of all, I'm a property owner here in Paulding County. I am a taxpayer. I am your constituent. Most of you, I absolutely rallied my forces and my friends and family to vote for you because you made promises to me that you would be supportive, not of me as an individual, but of the work that I do because of these women and their children. I'm kind of a bridge between you and them. And I'll just sum up what I say, commissioners. And I think once the ones who have not visited our location have the opportunity to do that, it'll be pretty self-explanatory. But I'd like to just sum up by saying, politically, I'm not real sophisticated, and I don't know all of the proper channels sometimes to go through. I've learned a lot since 2010 in the last 6 years as far as politics is concerned. And I'll be honest with you, I don't like politics.
Me neither.
What I've learned over the past 6 years has really has been heartbreaking for me. I studied constitutional law on some levels, so I have a working knowledge of how it's supposed to be. And I understand completely that the Bill of Rights gives every one of us here in the room certain unalienable rights that come down through our Creator, not through you, commissioners, but through our Creator. He endowed us with those inalienable rights to for the pursuit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Thank you, Ms. Young.
You're welcome. And then I would just say that as we are remaining confident in our government, that our style of government, please remember this, gentlemen, as we go into a new administration. Our style of government works. because we allow it, we the people, we allow it to work. You don't. We allow it to work, and we vote you into office, and we trust you. We have confidence in you. And when you turn around and take that trust and pound us with it, that's very un-American. Thank you, and I apologize for running over. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Carol McLeod, First Amendment rights and property taxes.
Okay. This is new to me, and for people that know me know that I usually sit back, I'm easygoing, I take things in stride until something happens, and then it becomes a passion with me. And I have sat back for quite a while and have kept my mouth shut, and I'm not going to do that any longer. The First Amendment rights, to me, are one of the most important rights that we have. And Ron and I have had many conversations about me holding him accountable. I, as an administrator, never ask my people to do anything that I would not do myself. And you shouldn't do that. Your employees of Paulding County have been squelched with their First Amendment rights. Chapter 11, Section 3 of the Paulding County Civil Service Rules, I'm not going to read it because of time, but basically it says that county employees cannot discuss, they cannot get out, they cannot campaign openly for anybody, and if they do and they're caught doing it, it specifically says all employees violating this section shall be dismissed as set forth in Chapter 7, Section 9. And Mr. Davis has been seen numerous times out in T-shirts, and I'm not criticizing you for having a candidate. I think that's great. I think you should have candidates. But he's been out handing out material and has been seen in public with T-shirts endorsing candidates. I have no problem with that, except that the county employees cannot do that. I've had several to come and talk to me and say there's fear for retaliation, their jobs will be taken. Firemen, I've had talked to some people in our sheriff's department, and I've also talked to secretarial staff. The other thing that has bothered me about this whole double standard, and it is a double standard, because you guys are paid by us, just like Ms. Milton said. We're the taxpayers, and you're paid by us. The other part of the double standard is their spouses can't do it either. And they will not allow their spouses to do it in their homes because of fear of retaliation. If they put a yard sign out, if they wear a shirt, then there have been things said to these employees about retaliation. I think you guys need to really look at this, and I think you should give the Paulding County employees a chance to do the same things that you're doing. It's a double standard. My second thing that I would like to speak to you about is your millage rate. Now, I have no problem with millage rates being raised, just like Ms. Wilkins said. You know, I don't mind it as far as if we are having pay raises for our county employees. The problem I'm having is playing politics with the people. And what I've heard here today, I was glad I didn't have to get up and speak when I did, because I probably would have blown a gasket. It's politics at its worst. And to come in here and Mr. Collette and say that, no, you didn't have time to get it out, and the others saying that they, you know, did not have time to look at it or hadn't seen it, and then you, Mr. Parnell, said you had read it and looked at it. If he finished it last night and then he couldn't get it out, I don't understand why Mr. Austin wasn't able to see it. The budget was put in place, and you had the opportunity at that time to talk about this with Mr. Austin. And you've waited until the morning of, and you slid it in, and then do this proposal of numbers for the average citizen that's sitting out here, we're all scratching our heads and says, well, you know, what are you talking about? So I have a real problem with it. The tax increase is not just $18 if you increase it, and it is a tax increase. We're going to have a tax increase there. The Paulding County School District, they're going to increase the tax rate for homeowners. I was at Ron Davis's meeting back, when was it, June? In June, and we had a discussion about the new system, water system coming in Burnt Hickory. I have no problem with it, except that we've already paid for our system. In my subdivision, I paid my water system, and he and Miss Liberty said that the taxpayers will be paying a second tax, or not a tax, but an increase in the water system to pay for it. So initially, I'm going to be paying for 2 water systems. I disagree with that. I want you to stop the games. I heard all things I heard today is Mr. Connell, Mr. Collette, y'all had secret meetings.
Your turn.
Okay, you've had secret meetings, just like you have been criticizing other people for having secret meetings. You're not open, and you're not transparent.
Thank you, ma'am.
I would like to say a couple of things. I know we're already late, but we're late. Thank you, Carol, for your comments. We haven't had secret meetings. Only 2 of us are allowed to get together at a time. 3 of us aren't. And we've been discussing things with department heads, with the finance department, just different people throwing things around to see what we think we could do to help the overall situation. And I was very open and honest several weeks ago when we put this even out there to advertise so that we would have the opportunity to discuss it. And that's why we did what we did with the second budget. I said this morning when the chairman did his budget, it's the chairman's proposed budget, and that's what it's supposed to be. And at that point, after looking at things and after the budget had come out, when we had employees making some phone calls, department heads that I went to individually and talked to and said, hey, what can I help you with as a department head? What's the most important thing to you? We've spent that time doing that, and that's when we said, hey, Tabitha, we need to advertise this to allow us to be able to have the conversation and carry it on. Without us advertising it and to do what we need to do, we couldn't even have the conversation because we couldn't change anything anyway. So we wanted to put it out there in order to have that conversation. We're not going to pass a budget of any type until August 9th. And if we had to, we could have a little bit more time, but it's August 9th before we're going to do it. So we did what we could do from June 1 to having a meeting to ask to advertise it. And then here we are today, and that's the process that we're going through. And so everything has been in the open. What Mr. Collette brought this morning is not nothing that he can decide to do on his own, or any of us. There's a process to go through, whether it be this board voting to do something with it next year, to send it to the legislators. There's a big process to do it. We couldn't start it any earlier with that process. I mean, so we're talking about it today. It might be something we may ask them to do next year that would go into effect July 1, which would ultimately, whether it was in effect with you guys next year on taxes or the following year. So we are doing it out in the public eye. And the tax, I do want to say this, the tax bill that everybody got was your tax bill based on your assessment for this year and the millage rate that was last year. If we voted in the 6.5 millage rate with whichever budget to go along with that millage rate, your tax bill that you received could be a couple bucks less than what you received. That's the high. We're not asking to put anything on top of what you got. And when you receive that, I did not receive a whole lot of phone calls at all 2 or 3 phone calls concerning it. We answered the questions and that was it. So we are doing it in the open. That's what we're supposed to do. But I do appreciate your comments and look forward to talking to you in the future. I thank you for your time.
And
Very much.
David, hang on. I want to just let you know that I share your concerns about the political endorsements for the county employees. I have had some conversations, initial conversations, to see if that's something we can change moving forward. I'm not at the point to be able to present that, but I have had some of those conversations. I feel, I agree with you on the First Amendment issue, and those conversations, I've started some of them.
And I'd like to say on that same note that I know of several commissioners that have discussed that over the last few years, and I agree with it. My view is that you may have a county employee out there that has a husband or wife that lives at home, has just as much right to that house or property to put a sign that they want to, and I agree with it, and I would like to see something changed for that, and that nobody held anything over any county employee's head because of something that they do off time, off the clock, on some kind of social media, as long as it's proper, and putting a sign in their yard or anything else. I do not agree with that, and I agree with your statement, and I can tell you that I've heard it from Mr. Crow, I've heard it from Mr. Davis, and I've heard it from Mr. Collette, and I do agree with you on that. So
I've been on
like to
both
see
ends of that spectrum. I was a county employee, and if a county employee supported me when I had to resign to run for office, and if they supported me, they were retaliated upon. Even one individual got on his wife's Facebook or email page and he made a statement. He wound up, he's now in Louisiana, I think, doing his job. But there were numerous people that contacted me and said, I can't get on Facebook as much as I like you. And you know, certainly my wife and I are two separate people. We come as a package. But when I was working for the county, if I wanted to support somebody running for sheriff, or she wanted to, and she put a sign at the end of my driveway, I'd have been recommended for it. I'd have been possibly fired. I don't agree with that law. It is a law somehow, some way. So we have to live with it for the time. And I'd like to see it changed to where a county employee, if they want to support somebody off the clock, be in this building doing it, shame on them. But out in public and at home, they certainly should have that right. With no retaliation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dana and destroy this political maneuvering in regards to property taxes.
Okay, I would just like to say that I appreciate the frank conversation that we had earlier in this very long meeting. So some of my points that I wanted to talk about have changed, and I'm glad to see that some of y'all realize that, you know, in the course of being in your position or, you know, in a business or operating environment, that there are exigent circumstances in which you have to go back and you have to rechange, you know, things that you have previously said or thought you were going to do, or even perhaps go back on promises that, you know, you made about not increasing taxes. I know, Tony Crow, you said, you know, I'm not going to increase taxes. Ron Davis, you said, you know, I'd like to be that principled leader that actually decreases taxes. And I know, Vernon, you know, you think a lot about promises. You went down to the city of Atlanta and you talked to Mayor Kasim Reed, and you even said, you know, I think that we should be able to, you know, we need to keep our promises that somebody made back in 2004 regarding, you know, the airport. And Todd, you know, you've had on at least one occasion that I can remember talking about keeping promises. But I think that, you know, things change in your environment that are beyond your control. I mean, Kevin Thompson probably never knew when he made those comments back in 2004 that general aviation would collapse because of the economy. I'm sure it probably killed him to have to sit there and go back on his promise, just like some of you are having to look at some making some difficult decisions, going back on your promise. You know, it's not easy to sit there and go back on a promise, especially when it is your heart-filled conviction at that time to do so, but we all know things change. And so, with that said, you know, I just hope that, you know, you are looking at, you know, what's going on in our operating environment in the county, and that this second budget that you're proposing is because there's true needs going on in the county, and it's not for political purposes. You know, I'm sitting here looking at, you know, some of the proposed changes and addition that you're asking for. You know, there's pay raises, there's a couple of a new position for a contracts position, and then, like David Austin says, there's $165,000 out there. You know, are you going to put a county administrator in? And if that's the case, you know, to some of us, it really looks like you're trying to stack the deck for a certain chairman candidate that you would like to see win this election tomorrow. And like I said, I just hope that it really is that you're looking at exigent, you know, things that are going on in the operating environment versus a political ploy. And I guess we'll find out, you know, more about how you really feel about this in August. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to say one thing about the $165,000, that's the second time it's been brought up today. If we roll the mill rate back to 6.5, it leaves us so much money. If we consider collecting 97% of the taxes, I think it's, and I'm going to get it wrong, 1.275, almost $1.3 million. So we went through and we listened to department heads and employees and so on, and we put some things in that second budget. We could spend that $165,000 20 times on things that could. It's really not set aside for any special thing. It's set aside because there were so many needs, and we went and we put in the budget what we needed to put in the budget, what we could agree on, and then that's left. You can call it contingency, you can call it what you want, but I can tell you what you can't call it. None of us have discussed, none of the post commissioners have discussed it with me, and from my understanding have not discussed it with one another, anything concerning a county administrator. That has not, so I want to put that fire out. But that $165,000 is left over. Each department head would love to have that amount 3 times, and there's things that they could use it for. Right now, we haven't got anything with that. We'll just have to see where it goes, but thank you so much, Dana, for your comments. I appreciate it.
Can I add one thing about that 165?
Yes, you can.
Just for the public's use to look through to see kind of what's being thought of. If you look at the back of the budget, there's a list of capital purchases. And highlighted in yellow are the ones that have been approved. The ones that are listed there that are not highlighted in yellow are not approved. However, they went through a process and came to us in the budget process through, some of them are maybe computer equipment. Some of them are vehicles that was recommended by fleet that are very likely to break this year. IT's recommended some changes to some that for some items that are likely to break. We will have to replace those. If we don't, we'll be inefficient. So the idea is there's $165,000 there. My understanding from all of you, now I may be wrong, but my understanding is that that 165 is to be used when one of those things does break. So when we do have something that comes up that we can't repair, we have the ability to replace it or make some kind of adjustment.
And we have Cecilia H. McNichon, First Amendment Rights, Open Records Report.
Yes, thank you for allowing me to speak today. I'm going to read. I recently performed an open records request on a candidate running for office in Paulding County. The information I received from the open request was appalling. However, what has now become the issue of equal importance is how Commissioner Collette has tried to intimidate me and discredit me and stifle my First Amendment freedom of speech. The events and actions of Commissioner Collette ever since I questioned the candidate face-to-face regarding the contents of the open records request have been like something straight from a daytime drama. Within a matter of minutes of my June 15th encounter with the candidate, Commissioner Collette followed a friend of mine, Dean Sanfilippo, out into the hallway and said, you know, there are rumors floating around about Cecilia, too. I let several days go by before I called you, Commissioner Collette. You admitted that you had made reference to a rumor about me, but that said that the individual who had told you the rumor had no proof and that you would not perpetuate the rumor. Well, guess what you did? You perpetuated it. You repeated it to a dear friend of mine. I wish it had stopped here, but Commissioner Collette followed that first threat with more in the days to come, as he tells me that if the contents of the open records request are made public, the individuals mentioned in the open records request were going to hire attorneys and file a lawsuit. Yet, you, Commissioner Collette, talked to Jerry Sheridan about it, and in fact, you even encouraged me to call Jerry Sheridan so he could set me straight. Okay, you claim that the contents of the open records request were simply an effort to make a candidate look bad and that they were coerced. You said those words. When I ask you who coerced the individuals, you tell me the name of a county employee. I immediately contacted this employee, who took my phone call right away, who in turn immediately contacted Commissioner Collette. Upon receiving a phone call from the accused employee, accused of coercion, Collette tells the employee that he has learned since his conversation with me that that was in fact not the truth, that there was no coercion on her part. You have yet to call me and tell me that you changed your mind about the coercion story. Would you not think that that was important? You also tried to discredit attorney Jason Phillips during this entire process by saying that he should have never released those records, that they were supposed to have been destroyed after 3 years. That's not the case. You need to go and look at Georgia Archives and the Georgia Secretary of State website as to record retention policies. And in fact, it wasn't Jason Phillips who released those records, it was Lonnie Skipper who released the records. So I don't know how Jason Phillips even entered the equation. It's truly a sad day in Paulding County when a common, ordinary citizen, me, cannot make an open records request without fear of being intimidated by an elected official, you. Yes, you, Commissioner Collette. Are we citizens are we supposed to just sit down and shut up? Are you going to tell your anti-air people to sit down and shut up like you do basically have done to me? You are all elected to serve the best interests of all the citizens of Paulding County, not to try and intimidate or stifle a citizen's freedom of speech, simply because we don't conform to your thoughts. I have a right to do so without being intimidated or bullied by you or any other elected official. Paulding County deserves better than this, and you should be ashamed, Commissioner Collette. Thank you.
Okay, I guess I got to make a comment on this. I think you took a lot of stuff out of context. The first time I approached Deanna, that's not the first comment I made. It was to ensure her that she got every bit of the paperwork that she was asking for. Because I was under the impression that y'all felt like you were not getting all the documents. You got 100% of the documents. I never said Jason Phillips was doing anything wrong. I said he had paperwork that if it would have been turned over to the county and put in the county's file, it would have been destroyed. Is that not correct?
It's my understanding that the HR copy was destroyed. The only available copy was the one in the county attorney's office.
And you got it from?
I got it from Mr. Phillips, and I released it. She was correct. I released it.
But without Jason, the document would not exist. It makes me wonder, does Jason have information on other people? And maybe it's a question we need to ask. It should be in the county file, not in Jason's possession. I did not intimidate you. I've never changed my mind. I told you the story I heard that these young women were coerced to sign because, like was mentioned earlier today, they were scared of losing their job. I told you I don't know the truth. I told you I went to, I did go talk to the county employee. They told me it was not true, so now I've got one side saying it is, one side saying it's not. I don't know where I am on that. Okay?
As
When
for
I
my
brought
statements,
up,
I'll be glad to go and take a polygraph, will you?
I will too, yes ma'am. And when I brought up about the rumors on you, I was just trying to show her that rumors are rumors and we can't always go by rumors. That's all I was trying to do. Now you can spin it any way you want, and that's fine with me. I'm a people, but I take it. Thank you.
That is the conclusion of the regular session. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Motion second, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Folks, we're going to need about a 15-minute break, even though we should start at 1 o'clock. But the county attorney tells me we can have a 15-minute break. We will be back in here